Right, so it says I'm streaming, but you know what? I think the stream could be better. There's one thing I could do to improve it. One moment. Hey, if I play this right at the beginning, am I going to get like a... We're going to get a copyright strike. Unclean? What does unclean mean? Ah, thème principal. That's right. It's that time. It's the time when you have the music. Minimise the music because I've got my own music. It's time for Rome. It's Rome o'clock. It's time for Rome. It's time for Rome. I am gonna conquer Bactria, which is over here, and then I'm moving in from here. I am gonna have these. I want you to process the turn. I'm gonna check on YouTube if I'm copyright strike, because if I am, then you won't hear my song. Truly a momentous occasion in YouTube history where we have the thing and, you know, it's good. If I go to manage videos, let's do that. Manage videos, live, and then click on that one. But I want to go to... Is it this one? I am live. There we go. That's it. I can see that in the background. No data. No data. Dropped frame 0. Well, it says 60 frames a second. Oh, yeah. It's time for the slaves versus my first garrison army. This is one of my favourite songs when I was growing up. I thought it was beautiful. So, I still do. So I have this song, and then, you know, whatever. Midline. Where is Midline? If you're wondering where this is from, Asterix and Obelix go to the island of pleasure, or hedonism, and have to resist the temptations of the women there. Asterix was going to lose, but then Obelix found out they don't serve wild boar in the island of pleasure. He says, how do you call this the island of pleasure if there's no wild boar? What would you take me for? Come on, Asterix, we're going. So Obelix's gluttony, his gastronomie, saved them from saved them and the rest of the Gaulish kind from tyranny. Completely wide. Oh yeah, that's a point. It's telling I want the ballista to attack that, and you to attack that. Now, I'm supposed to get reinforcements in this battle, so we'll see where they come from. Right, so probably going to get a bit of copyright strikes, but you know, it doesn't matter. Oh, I could listen to all of this. L'île de plaisir. Oh yeah, the island of pleasure. No, I won't do that. Let's have some non-copyright content. So I'll just have this in the background. I'm gonna have news. This is the news. I am a newsman. It's not Tucker Carlson.
Hello and welcome to Crosstalk, where all things are considered. I'm Peter Lavelle. As Russia's military operation in Ukraine enters the second month, a popular media parlor game has come into existence. Let's call it Who's Winning and Who's Losing. Sadly, there isn't much time or interest in how to end the conflict. In the meantime, Ukraine's fate is being decided.
Yeah, too bad they're not very accurate.
In Ukraine, I'm joined by my guest, Petro in Kingston. He is a professor of political science at the University of Rhode Island. In Delmar, we have
Hello,
Scott Ritter.
I'm Professor
He's a former
Political
intelligence officer and
Science.
Nations Weapons Inspector.
Me,
And in Brussels, we cross the Gilbert He's an independent political analyst and historian. All right,
You
gentlemen,
see,
Crosstalk
you
poses
probably
the fact that
you
means
talk like a fag
$1
and your shit's are
Let's go to Nikolai
retarded.
first. Nikolai, I mean, it's very interesting watching who's winning and who's losing a game on cable TV. A plethora of articles always in the main broadsheets, but there seems to be preciously little interest in how to end the conflict. That doesn't mean to say that things aren't going on. There's a format in Belarus, in Istanbul. I'm covering it watching it very, very carefully here, but it doesn't seem to get a whole lot of play. And all it takes is Secretary of State Blinken say, "Well, we don't think the Russians are serious," and then there's no discussion any further. How do you see this here? Because there seems to be many elements in the media and in the political classes in the West that actually want to see this war to continue. Go ahead, Nikolai.
Yeah, it's almost as if they're making a lot of money for it.
Well, there are those who argue it's in America's
Oh, here's a thing I found out recently. So apparently, the weapons that are going to the Ukraine, I'm sure some of them are getting used, but it turns out there's a lot of arms dealers in Ukraine which happen to have dual citizenship with a Levant country. And yeah, it turns out they're going there and they're buying these weapons for a significant discount, and in exchange the Ukrainian military are buying passage to Poland. So, you know, thanks for all those weapon donations. The arms dealers really appreciate it. Wonder where those weapons are going to end up in the future. Anyway, here's my reinforcements.
Yeah, well, I think that new world order is going to be some very thick lines, okay, of separation. Scott, how do you see this? I mean, you know something about the military. I'm not interested in who's winning and who's losing. I'm interested in seeing the conflict resolved with as few deaths as possible on both sides here. But it really does disturb me with the kind of glee that, you know, you throw in the graphics and the, you know, the
die, slaves,
and all this.
die.
My sources tell me
Burn in fire and
there's
die.
actually very little resistance from the army, Ukrainian army itself. It's these neo-Nazi battalions that are fighting to the death. Go ahead, Scott.
Neo-Nazis,
I don't know. I mean, it's clear to me that there's a significant military operation taking place in Ukraine.
The enemy is attacking our ally.
Fighting on both sides.
Oh no! What am I to
What
do?
I can say is this. The United States has said that there have been multiple efforts by senior military officials here in the United States to reach out and contact their counterparts in Russia. Phones aren't being answered, which should tell you everything you need to know about the gravitas that should be attached to this ongoing Western information warfare operation being waged by both Western mainstream media and the United States and NATO.
Yes. I have to be some great upon the gravitas.
Right now it appears that Western
Would you like to see my gravity ass with the gravitas?
one being the civilians here at home to generate outrage, because our outrage will then help fuel political resolve on the part of American politicians who will pressure their European counterparts to engage in very stringent economic sanctions and.
This is news. Ukraine, the Ukraine, Ukraine, the Ukraine, the Ukraine, Ukraine, the Ukraine.
The effort to bolster Ukrainian spirits, to let them believe that maybe they're doing better than they can. And the third one.
It's amazing how quickly this ballista can fire when I take direct control of it.
In an effort to
Feels very arcadey,
within
actually.
Russia, on the Russian government to alter their behavior in Ukraine.
The Ukraine.
The only one that counts as far as Russia's concerned is the third one. And one, I don't believe that there is a massive unrest in Russia.
It's just not working. All three of the points you mentioned are utter failures here. Gilbert, one of the things I find very curious in looking at these negotiation formats, it's all about
Sure, you can set fire to my gate, and in turn I'll set fire to you.
What is absent?
I'm fighting fire with fire.
I think nobody really wants to go there, particularly in Ukraine, and the Americans and the British and other members of NATO don't want to go there either, because what's happening, the more these talks are the clock has run out, the more, and I'm just speaking more myself, I see a partition going on here. And
the partition, yes. I'm paying attention to the news.
De facto partition.
Yeah, with the partition, de facto partition, the news. The news, facto partition. Blah, blah, blah. I'm a professor of political science. Blah, 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 blah. I have accreditation. I am an expert in my field. I'll put that on my credit card. Blah, 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 blah.
They came up from the south. They surrounded Mariupol. They took essentially the whole of the CFA. That has great strategic importance and great economic importance for Russia. However this war ends,
yes, come avail yourself at my gate.
Now they are turning around and addressing the issue, which
it's like shooting slaves in the barrel.
Which is to secure the Donetsk oblasts, as they were called.
A lot of my slaves happen to come from military conquest, so they're not very good slaves. They get all uppity and rebellious.
What was missing here is territory.
But that's okay.
Republic now has under its control 93% of the territory that was once
one moment, please.
That is to say, its status before the war began in 2014. Unfortunately, Donetsk is in a different situation. In Donetsk, the powers, the authorities, control only 50% of the land that was once the oblast of Donetsk. And the obstacle there,
the enemy general
is
dead.
Achieving similar success to Lugansk is that most of the 100,000 soldiers that Ukraine concentrated on the Dnieper River in its initial plans to overrun these republics, and they would have done that had the Russians not intervened, that force is still there. Now what we're about to see is the Russians redirecting their firepower and coming up from the rear, striking at those 100,000 Ukrainian soldiers.
So Gilbert, this is the second stage. What we heard earlier that the first stage of the operation is over. Let me go back to Nikolai. I mean, looking at the failure tour of President Biden to Europe. I mean, that was a sight to see. But people say they were gaffes, but I think he told the truth every single time. This is not even about Ukraine; it's about regime change. That's what I believe. I'm sorry, Nikolai.
Well, he just laid bare his inadvertently. I mean, we all followed Biden's career for many years. He's actually co-authored an article on relations with Russia's future, and it's all been very clear from the beginning that he is no friend of Russia, and it's therefore not
Oh, I didn't
surprising
unmute myself.
that his
I was checking on the stream to make sure I'm not getting,
understanding and
like,
care for the Russian people fall on deaf
not getting
ears.
told off by YouTube for playing
So
evil enemy
nothing
propaganda.
surprising
Ooh.
there.
Yeah, but, I mean, but Nikolai, I mean, you have like Victoria Nuland. She was in the Obama administration. I mean, she is really the godmother of the Maidan, losing Crimea, losing the Donbass, and now she's back, okay? And I've always argued that Victoria Nuland, when she gets her claws into Ukraine, it just gets smaller and smaller. It's not really about Joe Biden. It's about a mindset in the foreign policy elite. Nikolai.
Yes, and that mindset is not going away, and I think it's obviously one of the things that
Oh, my slingers have taken
eventually
some
drove
knocks.
Putin to this kind of reaction, which is not
The men are
justified
wavering.
reaction.
Most
I'm one
unfortunate.
of those who continue to hope that there could have been some sort of negotiation. I think that prior to this invasion, Russia actually had the diplomatic upper hand by arguing, pointing to the fact that the Western intelligence agencies were
There we
predicting
go.
an invasion,
I done
but none
one.
had happened. Now I think the shoes
Only
are maybe a little bit
117
on the
kills,
other
yet
foot.
they
It's
lost
making
683,
the case,
which means
for Russia being
my
an
work
aggressor,
with the ballista killed
unfortunately,
500
that
of them.
much easier in the West, and that's another hurdle to overcome.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah, you
That's
may
a good point,
consider
but
a point,
but
but
Scott,
I've
Russia
got
was
to
always
be
the aggressor,
contradictory
irrespective of what
now.
it does, if it invaded or didn't
Okay.
invade. I mean, I agree with Nikolai on a rhetorical level, but I mean, this is a godsend for
Okay.
people like Victoria Nuland because they have so much more work to do. Go ahead. We have 1 minute before we go to the break. Go ahead, Scott.
Yes,
I don't
Scott,
think
go
Russia cares about
ahead,
Victoria
make your
Nuland. I don't think
point.
Russia cares. I don't think they care about Biden or anybody. Russia's going to do what Russia's going to do to resolve its own
Russia's gonna do
security,
what Russia's gonna do, you
problems, and
fucking
they're
fag.
in Ukraine right
Don't
now,
like it, you
doing
can
just
kiss
that.
my
I think
ass.
Ukraine will unfold
Yep.
on a timetable that's dictated by Moscow, not by Brussels.
I only
not
captured
by
24.
Washington, D.C.,
Well, they're
not
dead
by
now.
CNN.
Well, that's very interesting because when the way
So,
I've looked at the coverage of it, I mean, and the way the media elites
not
and political
what I thought it
elites,
was.
this is their story. It really has. It's
Midland
very divorced
is
from the
Milan.
events going on the ground, and I tend to agree with Scott. You know, Moscow's going to do what it's going to do. When it's done, it's saying it's going to say
Moscow.
it's done. On that point, gentlemen, we're going to go to a
Moscow
short break,
is
and
gonna
after that
do
short
what it
break, we'll
wants to
continue our
do.
discussion on the conflict in
Moscow.
Ukraine. Stay with RT.
Cow. Auto resolve.
Welcome back to Crosstalk, where all things are considered. I'm Peter Rubel,
Kill them.
the conflict in Ukraine.
The conflicts, the special military action in the Ukraine.
Okay, let's go back to Gilbert in Brussels. Gilbert, what kind of Ukraine is going to come out of this? You know, we had the coup in 2014. Crimea voted to leave. Donbass separated itself from Kiev. We're looking at the military operation, Russia's military operation now. It will lose its access to the sea, most definitely, and there's nothing anyone can do about that. So what kind of Ukraine is there going to be? Is it going to be a rump state, you know, with Galician ideology and all of that? I mean, is that something that the EU wants? Does anybody want that?
Well,
Go ahead.
auto resolve that one.
Well, rump state might be a misnomer because we're speaking about the republics in the Donbass and the territory to the south that has been conquered in the last 4 weeks fighting, giving the Russians control over the whole Azov Sea littoral.
Turns
That's
out there's a
maybe
lot of
15% the territory in Ukraine.
biowarfare
Isn't a much greater
laboratories
percentage
in
of
the
the
Ukraine.
population before the war. So what remains to be seen is whether there will be a genuine partition between the eastern part of what remains of Ukraine, which has a fairly high percentage of, or had before this war, high percentage of Russian speakers and people who
If you
identify
don't
themselves
recapture
as
it, you will lose its
Russian,
military and economic benefits.
ethnically, and the
What?
western
You mean,
side
if
of-
I no
of
longer
the
own
Dnieper,
something, I
which
can't
has a
use it
considerably
anymore?
higher percentage
Really?
people who consider themselves to be Ukrainian speakers. That remains a possibility, but I think it's unlikely. Now, who will take control of Kiev? That depends on the weeks ahead. What will be the results? The Russians declared from the beginning they wanted denazification and demilitarization. Now, that may be a nice objective in negotiations, but I think it's a still more effective objective in action on the ground. The Russians declared today that they had destroyed 90% or more of the Ukrainian military production. If they succeed in smashing the 100,000 Ukrainian army that is parked on the left bank, on the west of the Dnieper, then they will effectively both denazify and demilitarize Ukraine. Whatever.
Yeah. Most thinks Americans still think that Trump is going to save them in 2024.
Okay,
But Duluth
before
seems he
runs away,
managed
that's
to his
an
election
interesting
to
way of
man who
putting it.
needs to wear
Nikolai,
an adult
Who's going
nappy.
to determine the outcome of this conflict
By labs
here?
who get
And what
some
would be a
funding from a
fair
certain
outcome,
Italian-American
okay?
health
Make
chief.
yourself a neutral
Yeah.
observer. What would
Funny
be fair
that.
at the
I've
end of the
heard
day?
a similar
I want
story.
to keep our viewers in
Wonder what
mind
that's
with,
about.
thinking about 8 years of war in the Donbass, which the West took no
Yeah, let's
interest
do
in
some
whatsoever.
oh, hang on, I've got concentrate
that
going
is
there,
very, very
so
important.
let's do
The
an
West
ego
doesn't
publicus.
recognize the Crimea referendum, but certainly the Crimeans do. So at this stage here, what would be
Crimea
fair?
River.
Or is that impossible to answer? Go ahead.
I'm not sure that we can talk in terms of fairness now. That'll have to be determined over more than our lifetimes, I think, depending on interpretations. I'd like to say a few words, literally, single words, about the kind of Ukraine that we're going to see.
Literally,
as
would like
we-
to say a few words.
after the
Literally.
the military
Literally,
actions are over. We will
saying some
no doubt
words right
have,
now to
a
you
more
with
nationalistic
my mouth
Ukraine,
parts.
a weaker
Literally.
Ukraine.
Ukraine,
A more
literally.
illiberal Ukraine. We're already seeing the manifestations of this in the arrest of more or less every opposition figure in
Literally.
Ukraine. And of course, a
Ukraine,
more resentful
literally.
Ukraine, for this generation at least.
Well,
Having
will
said
there
that,
be
it's not the end.
will there be resentment
And-
against the
and-
West as well?
Literally.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Literally.
the best lesson, I think, that thoughtful Ukrainian elites can take out of this is to be more reliant on their own interests and think about their own interests first as independent actors.
Well, you're saying the quiet part out loud, because Scott, that was going to be my question to do. Who is the decision maker here? Because, if Zelensky runs away, I mean, is he a free agent? Does he a person that can
He's just a
actually make a
bitch.
decision, in your opinion,
He
Scott?
always has been a bitch.
Well, the Russians
He's a
certainly hope he is,
stooge.
because all of these finalities that people expect out of this conflict, for instance, Ukrainian recognition that Crimea is Russia, Ukrainian recognition that the former oblasts of Lugansk and Donetsk are now independent of Ukraine, perhaps expanded to include Mariupol and other areas around the Azov littoral. This can only happen in a way that can be accepted by the West if Zelensky signs on to it. He has been elevated to a Winston Churchill-like heroic figure, and the West has articulated that it is up to him to dictate the terms of peace. So, Zelensky, of course, has a lot of pressure. If he surrenders too fast, he might get hung by the right-wing nationalists. If he drags this thing on, the West is going to be a little bit more reticent about providing, military support that simply gets blown up or captured by the Russians. So there's a balancing act, but at the end of the day, Zelensky is the only authority in Ukraine that can provide legitimacy to a Russian victory. And there will be a Russian victory. So it's in Russia's best interest, I believe, to keep Zelensky empowered, to keep him viable, and to keep him alive, so that this surrender can be eventually negotiated.
Nikolai, you want to jump in there?
Can I add a word?
Go ahead.
About Russian victory. I agree. Everything on the that we can see on the map and in the cards points to a Russian victory. Partly because they've hardly deployed sufficient. I mean, I don't want sufficient forces, but I mean, they have fewer people there, and they have much greater resources available to them to carry this thing out to successful conclusion. But the point is, and this happened at the end of the last negotiation.
Before I go and invade onto Bactria,
Istanbul,
I need to deal with some desert
heart?
scum.
What if the negotiating team actually is given orders to prepare, some sort of agreement without fulfilling?
Yeah, that's very interesting. I really like that. The world according to Jesse. Oh, I know that guy. I was doing conspiracy theories. Oh yeah. Oh, I was doing that stuff. So what is there a show? Well, living in Jesse's world, come along for the ride.
I'm Jesse Ventura. State agent, question more. Welcome to my world. Come along for the ride. The world according to Jesse. Today we discuss the State Department's hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy. Hang on, I think I could put this in. What if I do this in a browser window? What happens then? So if I go and do browser, yeah, and then put it in there, like that. Jesse taught us about super firmware. Oh, it's for client does not have access right to. That's that's a bit gay. That's a bit gay. That is a bit gay. What if I use like that? Because that one's sanitized. Let me just try something. Right quick. I don't want to make it my default browser. No. And then, like, if I go and say window capture and say that one, and then bring that to the top over here. Right, and then I'll put it in here, like that. Yeah. Okay. You're living in Jesse's world. Jesse's world is here for you.
I'm Jesse Ventura.
Yeah. Brum, brum, Jesse's world.
Welcome to my world. Come along for the ride. The world according to Jesse.
Oh, I can do a picture-in-picture. But you can't see the picture-in-picture. What if I change a different thing? No, that doesn't do it. But if I go full screen... I'll tell you what, if I go full screen, put that there. Let's see if I can do this. Yeah, that goes full screen there.
Today we discuss the State Department's hypocrisy over human rights, the labor push for unions, and anti-aging technology. Sit tight. The show starts now.
I'm an old man and I know stuff. I ain't got time to bleed.
Hi, I'm Brigida Santos. For our top story today, the State Department has canceled $130 million in military aid for Egypt, citing the country's failure to comply with human rights conditions set by the United States. Egypt's government has jailed thousands of dissidents in recent years, including journalists. Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy says the move sends an important message abroad that the U.S. is committed to human rights, stating, quote, "Gone are the days where dictators receive blank checks from America." But the announcement comes days after the Biden administration
gone are the days when they see blank checks from America, except for, you know, the ones they like.
The State Department says that sale will support U.S. foreign policy.
He looks like Christopher Lloyd. That's right.
Egypt's
he
security.
Sure does.
Despite the country's human rights violations, Egypt is still a major non-NATO ally and U.S. strategic partner in the Middle East. Jesse, what is your response to the conflicting stances over at the State Department?
I'm guessing
Brigida, since we're talking
this bit
stances
and the
here,
helmet
let me
is
back
to
up a little
protect their
bit
neck
and make
from
this
cavalry
statement.
attacks.
I don't think any country should ever invade another country. And right now, the United
that's
States
like
is on the
some
verge of
next level
implementing
strategic military
draconian
insight from Jesse
things
Ventura.
against
I don't
Russia
think
and Russia
countries should
invaders.
invade other
Well,
countries.
the hypocrisy is this. Why doesn't the United States look back
And if
to
you do,
20
you're a
years ago
bitch.
when we invaded a sovereign nation called Iraq, and it was based upon lies, ties to Al-Qaeda, weapons of mass destruction, not true. We invaded. What sanctions were put on the United States for that invasion? Nothing. Now let's shift it over to the human rights we're talking about here. This is a joke, in my opinion. This is being done for publicity. Because look at the numbers. We're giving them $2.5 billion, and we're withholding $130 million. What is that? That's the money we'd have lost and what would have just gotten hijacked out of the $2.5 billion to begin with, if you ask me.
We have
This is
discovered
a
the enemy's
joke.
hidden units.
This is nothing but a publicity stunt. It's
That
the
car
sale
name.
of arms that the United States
Our general
has
is under
to do.
attack.
Why?
Oh.
Because we are a military-industrial complex economy. We have to sell weapons. Weapons must be used so that we can continue to create
That's
more
right.
weapons
If you don't
and
like
keep
it,
the
you can
weapons
get
industry
out.
rolling to keep our economy rolling along.
While we're talking about human rights, the non-governmental organization Amnesty International has accused Israel of committing the crime of apartheid.
Israel.
against
Imagine a country that's so
Human
real,
Rights
let's call it
Watchdog is now calling
Israel.
for Israeli authorities
Is
to be
really-
held accountable for enforcing a system of oppression and domination against Palestinian people wherever it has control over their rights. The report states that the Israeli government's massive seizures of Palestinian land and property, unlawful killings, forcible transfer, movement restrictions, and the denial of nationality and citizenship of Palestinians are components of a system which amounts to apartheid under international law and a crime
Yeah,
against
but it's
humanity.
okay because the
According to
Palestinians
the
aren't
report,
black.
Israel treats Palestinians
So, you know,
as an inferior racial
nothing will
group
compare to
and
the horror of
systematically deprives
apartheid.
Palestinians of rights through cruel
The battle is
policies
turning in
of
our favor.
segregation, dispossession, and exclusion across all territories under its control. In response to the report, the Israeli government says it is anti-Semitic and denies all accusations.
Anything I
Jesse,
don't
many
like
people
is
today view
anti-Semitic.
the conflict as a struggle for civil rights and equality in the same territory, rather than as an ancient religious clash over land. Amnesty is the latest human rights group to frame the conflict in this context and to call the Israeli government's actions towards Palestinians apartheid. What are your comments?
My comments are this. It's always a touchy situation because it seems that this is always used. If you criticize the Israeli government policy,
The men are wavering.
all of a sudden you're called anti-Semitic. Wait a minute now. Criticizing government policies does not make you anti-Semitic.
Yeah, it does.
Anti-Semitic has nothing to do with criticizing policies that a government is carrying out. And if the Israeli government is carrying out these, call them atrocities against the Palestinians, they should be called on it. And anyone that does call them on it,
Watch
should
out,
not
Jesse
be labeled
Ventura.
anti-Semitic.
You've had a bit too much to
Nothing
think.
do with that. They are two separate issues. Apples
Brr,
and
brr,
oranges.
brr, brr,
They need
brr.
to-
I
they need
think
to be
I know
kept
what I'm
separate.
talking
You
about.
still should have the
Brr.
right to criticize government policies. It
Brr.
does not make you anti-Semitic to criticize Israeli government policy. And that should be that way for all. And most Israelis see that. They see that, and this is a front used to protect whatever policies may be unpopular of what they're doing. Then they use anti-Semitic as a way to get by.
All right, let's turn to the labor movement. Since a landmark victory granted Starbucks employees in Buffalo, New York, the right to unionize in December, workers across
Our men
54
flee the
more
field of
Starbucks
battle.
stores in 19
This is a
states
shameful
are
display.
also petitioning to unionize. Prior to the victory in Buffalo, no corporate-owned Starbucks store had ever unionized in the United States. The push is gaining attention of restaurant workers across the country. Pro-union Starbucks workers say they want better pay, training, benefits, and working conditions. Jesse, union rates were once high. At the height of unionization, income inequality was low and wages were not stagnant. But for the past 30 years, employers and lawmakers have effectively killed unions. Now, if the unionization wave gets big enough, it could be a turning point for American workers. But do you think that's going to happen?
Well,
Hey, I thought this was the one according to
there's been a
Jesse. What's
war
this
on the
woman
unions
doing?
since
Talking.
Ronald Reagan was president. Ronald Reagan started the war on the unions. And what people need to realize is, look when that war started in the 80s on the unions. That
Pretty
is
much the
right
same
when
time
the decline
Thatcher
of the
was doing
middle
the same
class
thing.
started taking place. And the decline is continuing. The longer we continue to wage war on unions, which protect workers, the more you're going to have the destruction and eventual elimination of the middle class, which will then make the United States like every other third world nation in the world. You will have rich and you will have poor, and there will be nothing in the middle. But unions have to be careful too, because unions can also become corrupt. You have to keep your eye on both facets to make sure they work well. But we need unions back, because if unions come back, the middle class will follow and likewise come back.
Lost the poly
It's better
boss.
for everybody.
In health news, a newly published study of data from 195 countries reveals that global dementia cases are expected to nearly triple by 2050 due to aging and growing populations and unhealthy lifestyles. Some leading risk factors for dementia include obesity, diabetes, smoking, and lack of exercise. Dementia is the seventh leading cause of death worldwide. The authors of the study hope that countries will now focus on preventing and controlling those risk factors. If they don't, more than 153 million people.
So that aside, the big thing about this that I see is if you use good common sense, that is preventative and will prevent this from happening. They tell you right here that what are the risk factors? Obesity, diabetes, bad food, everything like that is controlled by you as an individual. So if you take the precautions
What about
now
my tap
and
water,
stay
Jesse?
on weight, exercise, do all the good things in life to
Mind
keep
you, that said, I
yourself healthy,
do distill my
that
water.
is the best defense against dementia, according to this, that you can possibly do. So it sits in your hands. The future's up to you. If you want dementia, then get out of shape, get fat, and do all the wrong things. If you don't want dementia, lead a clean lifestyle, and chances are you may not get it.
It's time for a quick break. When we return, Jesse sits down with an expert on genetics to talk about why we age and how to turn back biological time. We'll be right back.
Oh, yeah. Well, I can see why a boomer would be interested in that. I can't face the afterlife. Me and my entire generation are going to be condemned.
I'm Jesse Ventura.
I'm more important than Jesus. I don't accept him as my Lord and Master. He ain't my savior. I'm my own savior. Bootstraps. Bootstraps.
My guest today is
Bootstraps.
David Sinclair, professor of genetics at Harvard Medical School and the author of the New York Times best-selling book, Lifespan: Why We Age and Why We Don't Have to. He joins me now to discuss the science of aging and interventions for slowing and reversing the process. David, has your research shown that we can slow or reverse our biological age?
Yeah, the answer is absolutely
Interesting
yes.
spear tips.
We can now measure aging. We can tell you how old you are biologically, not just your birthday candles. And we know how to slow it down. And more recently, about a year ago, we published work that showed, at least in animal studies, we could safely reverse the age of the body. And so the idea is that if we could just turn our age back 1 year every year, then life would get pretty interesting. And we're approaching a time when that will be possible.
Now, what is the survival circuit and what role does it play in aging?
The survival circuit are a bunch of genes that we link to aging. now about 20 years ago in my research. And this circuit responds to adversity. So we've evolved, there are creatures that respond to the environment, and when our bodies have abundance,
We have discovered the enemy's hidden
we're eating
units.
a lot of meat, a lot of nutrients, and
So you wish to die?
you don't need to run away from a saber-toothed tiger.
Our general
You're
is
not
under
feeling
attack.
heat or cold. These are signals of abundance, and the body's survival circuit doesn't turn on. And we age more rapidly. And we can measure that. Conversely, if our bodies sense adversity, it turns on this survival circuit, and our bodies live longer. We have protection against DNA damage and metabolic diseases, and even things like toxins in the environment. And there are ways to turn on the survival circuit by changing how we live every day and have a major impact and potentially live 20 and 30 years longer by doing those things.
Now, stress can be an anti-aging benefit, but we usually hear the opposite.
The battle is
Can
turning
you
in our
clarify
favor.
that?
Yeah, well, there's stress that's mental, and that's not a good thing. A little bit is good, but too much psychological stress will release
Booga booga.
a whole bunch of chemicals, cortisol, for example, and we know that that's not good for health, short-term and long-term. That will accelerate aging. But what I'm talking about is a different type of stress. It's the same word, but it's very different. I'm talking about biological stress, so that our cells feel as though they have a threat to their survival. We call this concept hormesis. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger and live longer. And it's that kind of perceived adversity that we want for our bodies to survive and live longer. Adversity such as exercise, foods that are not full of calories and nutrients. And certainly being always fed with a lot of calories is about the worst thing you can do to put your body into this complacent state and not turn on hormesis. Now, there are other things. There's cold therapy, saunas. These are becoming increasingly popular, especially cold therapy is a new thing. Changing oxygen concentration. You can exercise to lose oxygen. You can increase oxygen by increasing the air pressure around you in what's called hyperbaric oxygen chambers. These are all ways to turn on the survival circuit through what I've called
More
hormesis.
elephants!
Now, you touched on it. How do diet and exercise impact the aging process?
Well, basically, we should look at modern life and do the opposite. Modern life allows you to not move. You can sit at a desk all day. You don't even have to stand up. You are constantly at the same temperature. Most of us live in an air-conditioned and heated world. And we have an abundance of food. Most of us don't ever feel hungry or don't feel like that's a very pleasant experience. So 3 meals a day, 3 large meals a day, plus snacks in between, is really an unhealthy way to live because it's making the body complacent and it doesn't fight against diseases and aging itself. So you want to do the opposite. Get a standing desk, skip meals, don't eat meat all the time. You want to have
Fuck off,
a
nigger.
lot of plants, focus on plants. You have certain amino acids
Lion.
that will trigger
Shit fuck.
healthy survival. And the other thing you can do
I don't like when I'm being
is
lied
plants
to.
that themselves have adversity. Because plants will make molecules that turn on our survival circuit. And then there are some more advanced things. There's the hyperbaric oxygen chambers, which most people don't know about or have access to, but you can turn up the temperature in your shower. You can have a hot bath, or you can even have cold showers if you can tolerate that. And those are the things that we know will turn on the survival circuit. And you can see this reflected in your blood biochemistry. I've been measuring myself for over a decade, and I can see that doing these things is very beneficial. And actually, today, my podcast would be talking about some of these treatments and give people an idea of what kind of things you can do in your daily life. And there are also some
Off to
supplements
Bactria.
and some hormones that people can take either through their doctor or buying products direct to consumer that can also mimic this adversity state, this hormesis.
Now, what role does calorie restriction and intermittent fasting play?
Well, if there's one thing I can tell people, if there was only one thing, I would say eat less often. And for me, that's been a remarkable change in my physiology, the way I feel, the way I look. my energy levels, my ability to sleep. And so if you have 3 meals a day, and let's say you're over the age of 30, I would really consider limiting those meals to 2 a day. I'm down to 1 large meal a day where I eat a lot of calories that makes up for those other 2. It's not starvation, it's not malnutrition, definitely. We're not talking about that. But we're talking about having what's called time-restricted feeding.
I give you
rather than
greeting
calorie
and
restriction.
my
It's
attention
time-restricted
for the
feeding,
next
meaning
few minutes.
You can have a window.
Make your
of
case,
at least
but
you
without
want
a
at
lawyer's
least
tedium.
16 hours. You can go 18 hours. I
War,
go about 20 hours.
bitch.
And try to fit the amount of time where you're eating
And
in
so all
abundance
false
into just
friendship
a few
falls
hours a
away,
day.
and we
But
have war.
The important thing to know
It is good
I've been
for
doing
once
this for
to
a
see
decade.
honesty.
You cannot start doing this, within just a couple of days. You'll feel extremely hungry and you'll feel tired, but you can work up to it. Try skipping breakfast or skip dinner and see how you feel, and then you get the benefits of fasting overnight combined with those extra hours in the morning or night, and your
I
body
could
will
lose this
respond
one,
in
apparently.
amazing ways. It'll turn on our body's survival circuit. It'll defend against aging and disease, but you'll also ultimately, after about a month, have a lot more energy and you'll feel and look better.
What are some of the anti-aging interventions that are being studied right now, and what's most promising?
Well, there are a couple of things that we're working on. The one that's most prominent right now and people can use is there are molecules from plants that we call xenohormetins. They come from other species that turn on hormesis. And these come from grapes, such as resveratrol in red
They
wine.
have
You
something
might have
I
heard of that
want,
molecule. You can buy
which
that.
is gold
And
in
there's
their
another one called
land.
NMN, which is it stands for nicotinamide mononucleotide, and it raises the levels of a molecule that turns on the survival circuit. And that
That's
molecule
right,
is
you
called
should
MED.
smoke. Tobacco is good
What
for
we're
you.
doing is we're studying this and we've studied this in mice for many years, and we know that these molecules mimic exercise, mimic fasting, and give those animals greater health and protection against aging and slow down that clock. Now we're testing this in humans. We have human data, human results for resveratrol from red wine. We've seen that that's beneficial in many ways for health. And this NMN, we're in the middle of clinical trials right now in 5 different clinical trials. So that's one way to turn on your survival circuit and have an adjunct to a good diet, healthy diet like a Mediterranean or vegetarian or vegan diet. Those are the best for longevity.
Fuck off, you lying
Combined
sack of
with
shit.
exercise. And then the supplements are the triad. So there's some new research which isn't prime time for humans, but it's extremely exciting, and that is reprogramming the body to be young again. What we've discovered with a few other labs around the world,
This area is now
in the
known
last
as
couple of years,
Pakistan,
that there's a reset switch,
and it's
where we can
not full of
change
gold
the age
anymore.
of the body to
Why
make it
is that?
become young again, and not just feel young, but literally be young again. And we've done this in mice. We published a year ago that on the cover of Nature magazine that we could restore eyesight by reversing the age of old eyes in a mouse, and it became able to see after being blind.
Oh, I wasn't even looking at
We're
the
now
video
looking
alphabet
towards
cat.
making that
Yeah, probably wheatgrass juice in that
to be
case.
able to restore their eyesight from blindness. And ultimately, maybe with a pill one day, right now it's a gene therapy, but a pill to reset the age of the body multiple times. So you go to the doctor, get a course of medicine, go back 10 years, and then you go back to your doctor 10 years later and get reset.
Now, what is cellular regenerative technology?
Yeah, well, this is what we've discovered, is that you can reset how the cell behaves. We can make cells youthful again. We can even in my lab take cells that are terminally aged. They're called senescent cells. They've stopped dividing. They're causing havoc in the body. They're inducing tumors, and they're certainly contributing to inflammation and things like diabetes in the body.
Bitties.
What we can also do is reprogram those cells to be young again and to function and start growing healthily. So that's what we're talking about here, is that we've discovered that there's a backup copy of youthfulness information in the body that we can flip a switch. Right now,
I'd rather have wheatgrass than spinach, mind you. And it's better than algae.
4 weeks in a mouse, and the mouse gets younger, and things like blindness go away. Ultimately, there's no reason why.
I like
we
that
shouldn't be able
shield,
to
isn't
do
it? That's interesting.
In my lab, we have human cells. We grow mini little brains out of human tissue, and we can reset the age of those little brains and get them to work like they were young.
Yes, I grow brain tissue in a lab which has been harvested from fetuses. I am the voice of authority when it comes to aging. You should listen to me and my Dr. Mengele experiments. Yes. I am a good ethical scientist. I am so ethical.
Now, one of the ethical concerns of gene technology and treatments like human growth hormones, stem cells, and cellular reprogramming. What is that?
Well, it's really the biggest the ethical concerns aren't so much the hormones, but hormone treatments are quite legitimate. The stem cell work also, it sounds like it's unethical, but actually there's no problem with the ethics that I can
it
see.
sounds
These are stem cells
unethical,
typically
but
that either
here's
come
my
from
bullshit
tissues that are
reasoning as to
discarded,
why
such as
murdering
umbilical
babies
cords
to
from
harvest
babies.
their stem
But
cells isn't
increasingly we're learning
unethical.
how to use our own body's cells. Take out what are called hematopoietic or blood stem cells from the body, bank those, keep them for years, reverse the age of those cells that we're working on, and then put them back in the body when our immune system is depleted, and have our own stem cells put back. So I don't see any ethical issues with that at all, other than the fact that right now it's so expensive that most people cannot.
David, I want to thank you very much for joining me today.
You
This was
lying sack of
terrific,
shit.
And I appreciate it very much, and hope all my listeners will pay attention.
Jesse, it's been quite the honor. It's great to talk to you today. Thanks for having me.
The world according to Jesse.
Thanks for watching. Send us your comments on Facebook and Twitter. We'll be back with more stories ignored by the corporate media. I'm taking a few months off, but I will be back at the end of April. So I'll see you then.
And remember, when the government lies, the truth becomes a traitor. Stay
Our general
vigilant.
is under attack.
And you too, Brigida. Stay vigilant. We're all for you, and we'll see you. Good luck.
I want you to eat shit and die.
Reinforcements approaching.
I'm Jesse Ventura. I used to be a Marine. Yeah. But that's it. That's that one over with. So, let's just focus on the battle. Then we'll have something else on.
Missile cavalry at your command. Heavy cavalry ready and willing. Men of Italia! General! For honor and glory! Legionaries! Archers!
These archers are lazy. They're going to become slaves. Well done, my Belgium auxiliary. You have killed the enemy general. Oh, look at those legionaries. They're suffering, aren't they?
Legionaries! At the double! Advance at speed! At speed! Brave Romans to a man! Quick march! At the double! At the ready!
in there. And then, you know what? Another flank over there.
General! Quickly now! Now is not our time! Be warriors! Spearmen ready for battle! Forward! Sons of Mars!
Toot! Toot!
Legatus!
Toot!
Be warriors! Legionaries! Break the lines! Legionary cavalry!
Right, gonna no, let's leave the ballista on for the moment.
Be warriors! Warriors, move out!
Have these
The
warriors
battle is turning in our favor.
take over the thing.
Advance at speed! Ready and waiting!
Oh wow! All I can smell is garlic from my stew. Yep, that's a healthy stew. Right, so I like documentaries. Honduran femicide. The deadliest place to be a female.
Honduras, San Pedro Sula, is a city with one of the highest crime rates in the world.
Oh, it's only like a minute-long trailer. On RTD website. Okay. Yeah. Viewer discretion is advised. Yeah. I agree.
Honduras, San Pedro Sula, is a city with one of the highest crime rates in the world.
Judging by the shouty kissings, there are a lot of hits, por favor.
Gangs fight over territories.
In all the country, but more in this north area, there is a lot of criminal groups. They control very big areas of the city.
And as in any war, the main victims are the weakest. Women and children.
Hello, Salankas. You're mine now. Wait, this is not mine?
Muy joven.
Muy.
Women in Honduras don't have many options. To run,
¿A qué vienen y por qué se fueron? Porque fueron amenazadas.
to join a gang,
De eso me tocó hacer para entrar a la
or if you're strong enough, to fight and help others.
Yo me regreso y me agarré valor y me vine. Estas mujeres han hecho un proceso de cambio, de transformación, porque ven que salir del país no es lo correcto. No puedo voltear a ver mucho porque aquí los chicos, los jefes, las jefas de aquí se chivean y marcan territorio. Aquí es una zona bien complicada, fuerte, por eso no hablo muy fuerte. Con Jama, la situación aquí es bien delicadita. Bueno, aquí vamos entrando al cementerio, donde nos avisaron asesinado a una nieta de la membresía. Es doloroso porque recordar que aquí no venimos a traerla. Aquí la tiraron, aquí quedó ella. El esposo de ella se fue porque él debía un dinero y ya le habían amenazado de que se la iban a desquitar con un familiar de ella, de él. Cuando de repente el día siguiente o en mañana le informaron que había una chica muerta porque a ella la andaban buscando.
De eso me tocó hacer. Para entrar a la pandilla tuve que matar a gente que no paga la extorsión.
Right, stew's done. Just put some potatoes in it.
To crack down on those who want to evade the gang's control or haven't paid tribute.
¿De qué edades ingresan a la pandilla?
De los 12. Un niño de 12 años, uno lo manda a vigilar primero. Hay güiros que andan en la calle que no tienen los papás, no tienen mando de los papás, ¿me entiendes? Entonces ellos deciden meterse a la pandilla, pero nosotros los ponemos a prueba primero. Una prueba es que vayan a vigilar las otras cuadras de nosotros, que no vengan las maras de otra banda. Y nos ponemos a rondar la cuadra hasta que ellas nos cuidan, pues a que nos tiran el chupetazo de que no venga la policía ni nada.
Policía, mi mañana.
Las primeras pruebas. Yo ingresé a la pandilla, tenía desde los 13 años, porque mi mamá se fue para los estados y nos dejaron con mi hermana. Ya tengo
todo es
como 15 años de estar con ella.
Hemos escuchado que a veces para las mujeres, para entrar a la pandilla, pues a veces son abusadas por los mismos miembros de la pandilla que prácticamente las tienen que violar.
No, en mi caso no pasó eso, pero sí han habido. Lo mandan a matar a uno y esas son las pruebas que le ponen a uno para entrar. Y la que tiene el bien puesto es la que está en la pandilla, no es cualquiera. Soy una de las que manda pues de las pandillas. Bueno, yo en la pandilla, como ya tengo bastante tiempo de estar, tengo todos los cargos. El de extorsión, de matar y del que se venga. Y el que no, ya sabe, el que no paga, pues se le da 24 horas para pagarla. Si tiene cosas atrasadas, se le da hasta 2 días de chance para pagar, si no se mata.
Paulo is a crime journalist from Honduras. Like many of his colleagues, he's been abducted. However, he managed to escape and even helped to catch the gangsters who'd kidnapped him.
Understood!
We had 2 big guns here, the MS-13 and the 18 gun. They kill a lot of people, the police catch a lot of gang members, but the gang members continues growing.
General!
The guns started here like in the 94th, and at that moment it was not normal because it was the start. But now all the people, you can say, yeah, there is gang member in this next street. And the people take that normal, like yeah, you don't need to cross that street.
I don't think the mask is for the chinky poof.
And the people know that.
Oh no, I got the chinky poofs.
Because if the people know where the gang members are, the police need to know.
Melee troops.
Y Choloma fue ahorita el segundo municipio del país.
FFV, Cholos, es por los locos.
Por la situación de
patatas bravas.
criminalidad. Porque van cuando
porque
vienen
taco pelito,
encontrar sus familiares perdidos, familiares muertos.
Melania's organization helps women and children who've experienced violence at home or on the streets. She once had to flee the country herself. She was about to be arrested for protesting during the coup.
Yo tuve que salir fuera. Mi mamá me decía, Hija,
Where is
te van a
this?
matar, mamá, me dice. Pues me
Damn
sacó,
that, man,
me
Maisie.
mandó para las manos, para Nicaragua.
Mano.
Allá estuve una
Mano,
semana.
hifafo.
Yo no podía ir porque dejé mi hijo para acá. Mamá le digo yo, no, yo me regreso. Y me agarré valor y me vine. Bueno, mañana tenemos que estar a las 8, Wirras, porque
I'm not going to read the subtitles.
cosas en la bodega.
I'm not doing
Vamos a
it.
limpiar. Nosotras somos una organización que tenemos 12,
So,
13 mujeres voluntarias.
you can tell me what's going on. As far as I can say, it's a bunch of fat women complaining like, oh, our men don't treat us right, and it's not nice. It's not nice. I'm going to go to America and get some Coca-Cola. I'm going to have Coca-Cola with my bolito.
The enemy's tower has been destroyed.
Melania was determined not to flee a second time.
I'm going to work as a domestic servant, so I can buy all the Coca-Cola I want, and have Buffalo Wild Wings, and have an Xbox for my son Jesus. It's so bad that I'm fat. I'm struggling to eat. I am struggling so much to eat.
Compañeras que estaba conmigo, vino una banda de un lado, a otra banda de abajo, y se juntaron acá. Todo esto quedó llena de tiros y hemos pintado desde allá, recuperando estos espacios para poder.
At least they can paint some murals. Can't do gardens, can't do architecture, can't do a functioning society, but they can do a mural.
Como ama, dice, mujer, no huyas de tu país. Si tuviéramos autoridades conscientes, las mujeres del país no se fueran.
No me fuego.
Hundreds of unidentified bodies are buried in Mexico.
Bongo Bong, King of the Bongos. Going to Tijuana, going to go see a donkey show. See a burro.
Statistically,
Tijuana.
every female refugee experiences violence. Yet out of despair, people take the risk and whole families flee.
Some Hispanics telling us how bad it is. Now there are gangsters all around them. And now they're apparently not going to bring that culture to the USE. At least that is what I see. I want to flee the problems of my country. Well, look in the mirror, bitch. That's where the problems are. Maybe you lost some weight, they wouldn't smack you around so much. Have you ever thought about that? Yeah?
Here, guides are paid to get people illegally across the border.
So this area is used by the trafficking of people. They cross for this way illegally to that mountain because the mostly of the people don't have the documents or the permission. Even if it's legal, cross from Honduras to Guatemala, but the mostly of the people has child and they don't have the permission to cross with child. Or some of them need to have the COVID test and the people don't have money to do that. So they cross illegally for this way and they into Guatemala and start the way to USA.
Me dijeron los policías.
Está la cosa, ajá. ¿Y cómo, hoy, por ejemplo, cuánto cruzaste?
Una niña y...
The walls are breached!
Una niña, I only fucked her 5 times before I took her over. Oh, sí, I'm a good coyote.
Here is one migrant way around the frontier checkpoint.
Todas las personas que se van en ese camino ahí, tal vez de pobreza, de amenazas, de mareros, este es mi caso.
¿Por qué tuvo que emigrar su hija?
Ella estaba sola, ¿verdad? Con el niño.
Bla, bla,
Entonces
bla, bla,
cuando
bla.
ella conoció
Bla, bla, bla,
la
bla, bla.
pareja, pero anduve en el grupo, le dice ahí. Ahorita yo me retiré, tengo 1 año de estar retirado, pero ahorita me están acosando que vuelva al grupo. No les quedó de otra de que emigrar. Aparte de que ella está embarazada, va a tener 2 niños y va con un niño chiquito también. Eso es lo que también me mata, que el niño, me cuentan de que ella iba a pasar un lado bien feo.
On lalo.
Estaban unos, no sé si eran zetas o eran, pero que las querían.
No me
Querían hacer algo
fuego.
con ella y ella quiere regresarse y que ella agarraba y la gran parte
Salsa picante. Burrito, fish-taco.
Y ayúdenmele al niño, el niño así temblaba.
Y pollo locos. Nacho grande.
Me subió, dice, y yo pude
Salsa spumanti. Oh wait, spumanti is Italian. Wow, it's the same thing.
Es triste, mamá, me dice, dormir en casas así que están abandonadas, de orines, popú, y el niño dice, no tengo, me quito la camisa para tocarlo, pero igual eso se pasa, el niño le agarra alergia, le salen empollas y todo eso, el niño no puede dormir por la picazón.
In these poor neighborhoods, poor areas, the kids live only on the street. And the sole example to excess is via government.
Los polos sonando.
For that reason, no one is trying to tell the kids. There is some institution like Milan who is trying to help.
The battle is turning in our favor.
We need more of that. We need
We need more money for them programs. Oh, sí, señor. Today is a special day for us. We get Coca-Cola vending machine in our shelter. Oh, it is so good. We have it with Bulito all the time. I like Coca-Cola. I drink 5 Coca-Cola a day. Big Coca-Cola. Yes, Los Polos is... I keep thinking of the Chicken Brothers in Breaking Bad. Los Polos Hernandos.
The Mamucla was founded by Melania's mother, Marta Velasquez. To escape from poverty, she graduated from school and is thought to be the first Honduran feminist.
I know how to tie my own shoelaces, and it is oppression by the evil patriarchos. Now we have some happy music to show that feminism is a good thing. Yeah, so I got free abortions for all of the women. Yeah, it's good. It's so nice. They're so happy now. They get free abortion. Everyone's so happy. Not the father. The father's not happy, but everyone else is happy.
En el mayormente del tiempo de ahora, muchos adolescentes han sido ultrajadas, han sido violadas por sus propios.
Oh, that's very anti-Semitic, turning those Jews into porcupines. Oh no, 6 million of them died. Jerusalem will never be the same again.
In a country of flourishing machismo, too many leaders were once captured as shot dead or chopped with a machete. Family violence is common. Concern over the killing of women began in 2014 when the country was shocked by the high-profile murder of Miss Honduras and her sister.
Miss Honduras' sister was the girlfriend of Plutarco Ruiz. But he was involved in narco traffic and he was very dangerous. That day was his birthday.
Oh, CCC, he was really dangerous, yeah, you know. Very dangerous, yeah, CCC. Oh, CCC, senor, he's very dangerous. No trust him. No miel fuego.
He started to get jealous about girlfriend. And finally, he shot her.
In the face.
Miss Honduras trying to defeat her sister.
Yeah, I did enjoy Star Trek Enterprise last night. It was an episode where they had a bad trip. So they go and have shore leave, and there's like a psychoactive plant on the ground. It makes them all get paranoid and think that they can see lizard people. When actually they just turn out to be Cardassians.
And they say, no, yeah, we carry the bodies, but
So yeah, it was a good episode. I liked it.
The police.
Anyway, Jerusalem's now mine.
The sentence is 30 of
Jerusalem is one of the
14
oldest
years.
cities in the world, yet throughout its history it's been destroyed twice.
So it's like
Sieged 23 times
they
and
don't
blah
kill
blah
only
blah.
Honduras, they kill the whole
I'm going to turn it
of
to a
the women
Romanized provincial capital.
in security, in stay safe in the country.
Oh, sí, got to stay safe, señor.
Todo bien. ¿Y usted qué onda? Acá es el primero de hoy, ¿va? ¿Qué tal, doctor? Buen día. Y según la cantidad de casquillos, múltiples impactos. Se miraban como 8 disparos ahí, como 8 casquillos.
Muy joven.
Sí, joven. De contextura robusta, pero joven.
Los disparos escucharon como de 3 a 4 de la mañana. Cuando yo estaba en la casa porque estaba despierta, yo lo escuché. Sí, antes de las 4. La vez pasada ya por ir para el Intade también quemaron a un muchacho. Ese joven no puede salir a la calle porque por el peligro.
¿Por qué? ¿Por qué?
Sí, ya
¿Por qué?
varias
¿Por
personas
qué?
muertas.
Esta muchacha van a ir a identificarla a la morgue.
Attacking long-standing allies will have an effect on how the other factions view
The
your
victim
own.
was quickly
Shut up,
They will be
woman!
cautious when
because her
dealing with
friends
you
and
in future.
relatives who are already looking for her.
Jerusalem
Her
is now
parents
under
were
Hobbit's
called to the
control.
morgue
He's
to
going to crack
identify
down on
the
a certain
body.
religious group who don't like pig meat. In fact, you're right. I need to put the Forum Cabinenses in it, don't I?
Esperando pues que entreguen el cadáver de ella pues para llevarla pues para Cihuatepeque, ¿verdad? Y allá pues se le va a dar pues allá pues se le va a dar el
There it is,
¿verdad?
the
Y
taberna.
pues, a sepultarla.
To Tyrdos.
Naturally,
You're
families gathered for
my
the funeral.
Tyrdos now.
The newspapers reported that this was only 1 out of 5 victims in a week. In each case, the husbands are under suspicion. However, the parents don't believe this, thinking she was killed when crossing the border of the two gangs' territories and came under crossfire.
Where's DJ4?
Se dan
Repax
casos,
is
¿verdad?
here.
Donde
Good.
realmente
Okay.
Quitan a personas que en verdad son un beneficio para la sociedad, pues porque ella era una muchacha pues
Muchachos.
luchadora, emprendedora, trabajadora.
Yeah, I'm going to be trespassing on a lot of lands.
¿Tienen hijos?
Sí, tenemos un hijo. No, mi hijo no lo tenemos
No,
nosotros,
mi
lo tiene
fuego.
mi abuela.
Taco,
no,
taco,
no gusta que
pelito,
ni el papá
taco,
ni
taco,
yo
taco,
permitimos
pelito.
que esté ahí, porque no quiero que se meta lo que nosotros nos metimos. Sí, mucho temor porque ya lo han hecho con otras parejas de nosotros.
Oh,
ya
look
lo
at
han
the,
hecho con los
the
hijos.
balance of
Hasta la
power.
misma pandilla,
Apparently,
ellos lo han
I'm going to
matado
lose
con
this
los hijos de
one.
ellos. Porque
So if
fallan con las
I
reglas
just
de la
auto
familia,
resolve,
tiene que ser así. Nos mandan
decisive
a
defeat.
cobrar extorsión
Wow.
o lo que sea, a matar, tenemos
What
que
they're saying
entregar
is I
dinero
should
como
save
sea
for
el
this
jefe.
battle.
Un lempira que falte nos matan. Nosotros no, nosotros nos dan comida y dormida. De vez en cuando nos dan para vestimenta.
cuándo
Pero no
más?
es un trabajo que nos van a dar un salario, no.
Oh, sí, señor.
Un ejemplo es, no sé si te diste cuenta, hay una mujer que acaban de matar aquí, ¿verdad?
Sí.
En San Pedro, cuando ella era de otra banda. Ella se mete con los de nosotros si toca el territorio de nosotros la agarramos y le sacamos
Well,
la
that's what you
libertad
get
de
for
que
not
anda él y
making
que
taco
anda
burrito.
rondando la colonia donde no tiene que ser, porque ya la han visto con la otra mara. Entonces nosotros la agarramos y la llevamos a donde nos dicen, le dijimos casa loca. Ahí las matamos y las hacemos. Nos vengamos pues de la otra mara. Sí, porque a veces los pleitos terminan porque como ellos quieren cobrar la extorsión de nosotros, por territorio que peleamos.
Why does it sound like a machine gun when they talk? Is that why they're so fond of like machine gunning one another? Because it represents their language.
Pero hay veces que yo me siento bastante triste.
She's more like a revolver or a bolt action rifle. Yeah, load up another statement and see another one.
Luego me dice, encontré una persona de que
Una
los va a ayudar a
persona,
cruzar,
paf, paf,
y
paf.
que resulta que esa persona dice, si no los das tanto, te vamos a ir a entregar con los Zetas. Cuando digo a ver las noticias, a otras personas que ya le han ido mal, pues, porque ya parecen muertas. Dios mío, y regrésamela mejor, pero y cuando pienso de por qué se fue, ayúdamela mejor, Señor, para que ella pueda estar al otro lado y ya seguir adelante. Mi país es bello, pero hay demasiada maldad. Entonces no quiero que ellos regresen. Yo le pido a Dios que ellos se queden allá.
Even me, I had a daughter and I had fear. Well, the hospital I started for my daughter, I told her, you need to be a tank. You need to be strong. You are the tank of daddy.
The walls are breached.
La verdad que eso es algo duro, pues. Algo duro, algo tremendo de que
It's very hard.
no le desea a nadie eso.
I only rape like a couple of niñas every month.
Esto nadie va a dar. Hicieron el daño y nadie va a saber de nada. Pues. Ahí ya se quedó eso así. Porque eso es lo que pasa en el país.
The walls are breached.
Pero si el destino tuviera otra oportunidad y tuviera la decisión de volver a ingresar a la pandilla, ¿volverías a ingresar?
Sí. Sí, volvería a ingresar.
¿Por qué accediste a tener la entrevista con nosotros?
Accedí porque, bueno, el jefe me dio la orden. Yo no sabía lo que es orden del jefe que me manda, tengo que cumplir.
The walls are breached.
La niña de 16 años que son reclutadas para llevarla. Y algunos regresan pero en una bolsa y muchas pues no sabemos dónde están, se quedaron muertas, no han regresado, se quedaron en otro país, no sé si las han violado, no sabemos nada. Esperamos que ahora que llegó una mujer al poder, sentimos como un alivio en nuestro corazón, que Dios quiera que esa mujer no se deje dominar por estos machos. Vamos a estar los movimientos sociales feministas haciendo ruido para que el ruido estorbe y no vayan a dejar por.
The walls are breached.
Es como una piedra en el zapato.
Oh, sí, sí, sí.
La idea es que estos espacios vuelvan a la normalidad. Estas mujeres han hecho un proceso de cambio, de transformación, porque ven que salir del país no es lo correcto.
The enemy's tower has been destroyed.
Right. So there's another dance. No, there are two facts to the Macarena. Let's watch more. RTD, the documentary channel. Maidan runs Donbass, Honduran, Ukraine. Men of Salt? What's that about? When salt is your whole life. Ah yes, the salt miners. Cool.
The enemy's tower has been destroyed.
El salar de Uyuni ha sido como la Pachamama, puede ser también como espiritual, ¿no?
El salar lo legal no es nuestro, ¿no ve? El salar de Dios, ¿no ve? Nosotros somos preciosos, creemos en salar.
The people who gather salt here are called saleros.
El salero antes era muy importante, había mucha demanda de sal, pero ahora ya no.
But beneath the
Just
salt,
get it from the
another,
sea.
even greater treasure has been found. Digging for lithium is a lot more profitable than salt.
Lithium.
Y yo pienso que se va a acabar porque ya la gente mismo ya no trabaja como antes, ¿no? Parece que a mí ya va a morir el salero porque mucha gente ya no quiere trabajar el salar.
Y nosotros vamos a ser ya los últimos. Yo no creo que va a haber otra generación más de los que van a trabajar el salar.
I don't mind these Hispanics so much. Like, you know, he's carefully enunciating his words, and he's not just going
About how God's mirror was formed, the scientific theory, and the more popular legend. In folklore, the mountains around Uyuni were once living beings. One volcano is called Cusco, the other is Tunupa.
Also, I unironically like panpipe music. He had an affair with another mountain, and angry Tunupa left him. Her offspring streamed down crying for their mother. She turned round saying, "These are my kids. They follow me because they're hungry and they want a breast." So she drained her breasts, hot, and they turned white, forming the salt flat. That's why they say, "Mother Tunupa, never, I'm off to work the salt flat." They used to say, "I'm following mum." Whose breast milk is that salty? Nice legend, though.
Colchani village just outside Uyuni used to be the Saleros' capital. Now it's only the Chapis who keep going to the salt flat. The eldest son is called Nico. He's the formal head of the clan, but Nico is more creative than practical.
Yo tenía 8 años y empezó
As there's done salt flat, my parents was Saleros too. Now I just eat coca leaves all day for my Coca-Cola.
Eran saleros. Nosotros, generación a generación, hemos llegado a estos momentos, seguimos siendo saleros.
Look at that llama, just sort of standing there, not doing anything.
Soy el escultor internacional, nacional, de la primera maravilla del mundo, del Salar de Uyuni, y me siento feliz, me siento contento que Dios me ha dado el don de hacer
Oh, salt sculptures, nice.
As an artist, Nico is not always good with technology.
Olga, ¿y si la trae?
The wiring is old. It doesn't work.
No hay luz siempre, bájale la palanca, bájale.
Amazing, he's got all of his fingers.
For 2 hours, Nico tried to start the cutter, but no luck. Now he has to go to the salt flat.
Tengo 5 hermanos, todos nos dedicamos a la sal. Mi hermano se dedica a los...
One of my brother's a hotelier, another one's a salt sculptor too. Their brother's a craftsman, another extracts salt blocks. Bloques.
Mi otro hermano, el Eric, se dedica en sacar sal, los blocks, para poder vender aquí en Colchán.
Mis papás no tenían recursos para poder estudiar. No teníamos de comer, nada. Por eso más que todo me decidí aquí a trabajar en el salar. Mi hermano Nico tenía camión. A comprar camión, pero no sabía manejar el camión. Entonces yo ya sabía manejar, porque mi hermano mayor mismo a mí me enseñó a manejar el camión. Entonces yo de ahí empecé a trabajar junto con Nico ya. No hay otro, porque no soy profesional. Fuera profesional, me puede gustar esa carrera, ¿no? Pero como no soy profesional, entonces sí o sí tengo que trabajar en el salar. Y aquí en el salar trabajo ya como 15 años trabajo aquí en el salar.
The walls are breached.
15 years just mining salt.
A las 9 de la mañana. Empezamos a trabajar, de aquí vamos, a veces hacemos 2 viajes, a veces hacemos un viaje, hacemos de sal. Y siempre vengo con mi esposa a trabajar. El trabajo es duro. Por ahora no se gana tan bien porque toda la sal que llevamos de aquí a Colchani entregamos al turno.
The fuck do you think you're doing? Get back in line, bitch.
Entramos sin máscara hoy día, en la tarde la cara arde, no puedes dormir, te empieza a descoser la cara, te quema la cara y por eso los saleros caminamos tapados la cara, mascarados, todos caminan así.
Why do they wear masks? Salt causes sinusitis.
Antiguamente, con estuvo Chango, el salero es respetado porque había mucha demanda de sal, porque era, como decir, el único salar de Bolivia.
Bolivia's only salt flat.
No puedes vos trabajar todos los días y allá entregar todo. No es así. Antes era así. Nosotros llevábamos de aquí toda la sal y entregábamos allá directo entregamos a los plantas. Pero ahora no está tan bueno como antes. Antes era bien.
Crank start a truck. Wow, that is very rudimentary.
Fire on the enemy! The walls are breached. Victory for Rome!
Melee troops awaiting orders.
In the late 80s, huge lithium reserves were found here, among the world's biggest. Lithium is vital for manufacturing batteries. This white material is often called the 21st century oil. Lithium is much more valuable and important than the salt that hides it.
Para extraer lo que es el sulfato de litio, lo que inicialmente se hace es la extracción de la salmuera proveniente del salar de Uyuni. Posteriormente llega a una piscina, en el cual lo denominamos piscina de alita. Posteriormente pasa a otra piscina, que es la etapa de silvinita. Adicionalmente, después de eso pasa a otra etapa que son las mixtas. Precipita diferentes tipos de cristales y ahí se prepara la salmuera para que entre a la piscina de sulfato de litio.
Sí, está bien, digamos, gracias a actualmente hacen conocer como es el oro blanco, que es el litio, que va a ser a futuro, que nosotros vamos a contaminar nuestro medio ambiente.
There was another oro blanco in the 1980s.
Nos afecta pues, a nosotros que vivimos alrededor de todo de esta mina de litio. Ha disminuido la cantidad de lluvia que tenía que hacer para la producción, por ejemplo, agrícola. En sí, la biodiversidad, la fauna y la flora van a morir. Por ejemplo, en la fauna tenemos la vicuña, el flamengo, las llamas, corderos. Ya no van a tener alimentación, no hay agua y van a tener que morir. ¿De dónde se van a alimentar? Antes, por ejemplo, el salar tenía una cantidad de 50 centímetros de agua, así, máximo, así. Pero ahora ya ni 10 centímetros no llega así.
Oh no,
se seca, repito, todo ese
the
agua
poor
que
flamingos are going to die. Oh, my heart bleeds. The poor little birdie wordies. Oh no. The flamingos, what will they do? The flamingos, oh no.
Every December, Salt Flat area residents often look to the sky, waiting for the rainy season.
Flamingos, oh no, the poor little flamingos. They're so sad, the flamingos. They're thirsty. Negrito.
Stanislaw Laimi is mainly a regular farmer who breeds llamas. But sometimes he steps up in his other important role as the local shaman, or yatiri as they're known here. Like his father and grandfather before him, Stanislaw communes with the spirit world.
Field artillery ready!
Naturaleza, otros llegan con el rayo, por ejemplo, el rayo llega, ese el coge. Y los que somos ese, como yo, eso es aprendizo, ¿no? Como dice, como obligado, así, aprendizo. Mi papá pues miraba, mis abuelos así miraba, entonces he visto, igual estoy actuando pues, es así este. Mi abuelo se ha muerto, mi papá también se ha muerto, nadie pues más de luto.
It's not that Stanislaw wanted to communicate with spirits, but there is no other yatiri, and without one, how could you appease Pachamama, the supreme deity who provides everything, including water?
Para esta zona es importante la lluvia, pues si no hay lluvia no hay agua.
Importante.
Porque en un lugar seco, en este lugar no hay agua.
Mucho importante.
Este año pasado no hay lluvia, nada más. Por eso había pasado, los llamitas han muerto.
Last winter was harsh with scarce rains. To make sure that doesn't happen again, Stanislaw is preparing a special water ceremony.
Esos tiempos siempre se hacen para cuando falta la lluvia, pues. No se hace cualquier tiempo, sino este tiempo siempre, desde Santa Bárbara, siempre el 4 de diciembre.
The walls are breached!
Water is the most prized commodity in this arid land. Llamas and people depend on the rain that falls during the short wet season. The amount of new salt that Uyuni can yield depends on it too.
The walls are breached!
Antiguamente mucho más llovía, pero ahora en 10 años ya cambió la vida. Porque ya no llueve en el salar. Antiguamente el salar se inundaba de agua, se leñaba de agua, totalmente imparcial. Era como el lago Titicaca, ¿no?
¿Y qué le hace a la sal la lluvia? ¿La mejora para el año?
Le mejora la sal porque cuando hay más lluvia, la sal
If it
empieza a
rains, the more
crecer.
salt appears. Interesting.
The walls are breached!
Córtale nomás, todo ya está.
The blocks extracted in Uyuni can be used to build houses or carve sculptures. You can eat them too if they're properly processed. Resellers generally buy all the salt wholesale. But these days they don't come as often and pay less than they used to.
Esas plantas de sal antes comían, pero ahora la sal está procesada, refinada hasta la sal. Ya no está como antiguamente los panes golpeando en batancito, así comían la gente antiguamente. Antes no había mucho camión, mandábamos en bodega la sal a Cochabamba, a La Paz, a Santa Cruz, hasta Brasil iban la sal en bodegas, iban. Pero ahora ya no hay, el ferrocarril ya ha muerto, ¿no? Desde 1993. Y ya más antes del tren también llevaban la sal en llama y más caro era la sal. La tarima que ustedes están mirando a nivel nacional y a nivel mundial.
This pedestal of salt is known all over the world. Alright.
Esa tarima la hemos construido en 2 semanas, ¿no? En 2 semanas hemos construido
2
con mis
semanas.
hermanos y mi hijo. Y me siento contento. Y un día mi hijo o la gente me dirá, el escultor internacional ha hecho una tarima y me siento feliz, amigos.
The battle is turning in our favor.
Pasen nomás, amigos, pasen.
Nico the sculptor has opened a
Time
museum
to
where he shows his better work.
put my
Visitors
foot
to
in the
salt
door.
plant can also look at the sculptures and buy a masterpiece.
Este es a la fuerza aérea, soy. El martes aniversario del cuartel de la Fuerza Aérea. Te puedes regalar a esta al comandante general. Es el ojo del... ¿No ve? En el dólar hay un ojo, amigo. El ojo tienes que colocarse hacia tu casa. Aunque no de sal, pues. Es tu
Our
casa.
general is under attack.
Para que prosperes. Es que nosotros como... Para que no falte... Ay, también dice, mano, para que no falte. Y ahora la G va a ser de los masones, ¿sabes, no? De la G. El compás dice que es de los masones, pues ahí. Y yo soy el internacional, pues, escultor de sal. Yo soy el internacional, casi no tomamos el internacional.
Well, you know, it's, I respect the hustle, the grind.
Mi hermano, de los 5 hermanos y una hermana que tengo, más cercano que conmigo siempre está, el Eric. Y yo voy a su casa también a hablar, a charlar. El Eric es un poco diferente, es más tranquilo y más sociable. No es
Tranquilo.
Oh,
sí.
Con el
Tranquilo.
más o menos un poco me llevo bien, más o menos, ahí nomás, pero no conversamos así todos los días. Él está apartado, yo también apartado y no nos todos los días, pero nos llevamos también bien, más o menos.
Unlike his brother, Eric is quite a simple man. He has a large family to feed, and selling blocks isn't enough to make a living. So Eric built a budget hotel for thrifty tourists, and it's made of salt.
A salt
He tardado
bed?
un año he demorado en construir todo esto. Me han ayudado 3 personas, me han ayudado. Conmigo 4 eran.
Salt floors? The food's quite salty too.
Blocks de sal. Más o menos ha entrado casi como 10.000 blocks ha entrado. De ahí la semimolida y traído de la orilla de salar. Ese he traído más o menos como unos 6 viejos por ahí.
I like
¿Qué
it.
has hecho en el hotel?
Le
like
pasa
it.
sal molida. Procesos mezclados. Mezclar la sal con agua, luego después hay que poner en esas cositas, ¿no? Para que el hotel ya esté terminado.
El hotel entra 35 personas y en la temporada alta, diciembre, enero, febrero, un poquito más de marzo. Mayormente llegan argentinos. Todas las noches estaba full, no es ves, pero ahora por la pandemia ya no hay nadie.
Siempre quería ser escultor de sal y mi sueño se ha cumplido. Mis hijos ya, la sal ya no quieren trabajar porque a veces mi hijo mismo ya no es escultor de sal. Ya no quieren saber de la sal. Están ya abusidos porque mis hijos han nacido aquí y han vivido desde niño y mis hijos ya no quieren saber de la sal nada.
Eric often takes his large family out to the salt flat. While he works the machine to cut out blocks, a trip to Uyuni is still just a fun adventure for the children.
Entonces está cambiando la vida. En los panes lo mismo, antes era con hacha y pata, ahora ya es con maquinarias. Solamente a mi hermano Leo, ¿no ve? La máquina la corta los dedos, la corta todo esto, la corta, la ayuda a desaparece todos los dedos. Todo eso la ha sangrado en ese lugar donde estaba, ¿no ve? Todo ese lugar ha sangrado, todo, porque los dedos todo la bajó. Pues.
¿Cuál ha sido para ti el día más feliz de tu vida?
Yo tenía una propuesta de tocar en un grupo. Yo con mi sobrino me llamaba un grupo. Me llamaba un grupo y he tocado. Ahí me sentí feliz. Después más otros días no. Yo canto.
¿Puedes cantar un poco con tu guitarra?
Sí. La luna y la estrella, testigos de nuestro amor. La luna y la estrella, testigos de nuestro amor. Besos en la oscuridad, junto a mi niña bonita. Besos en la oscuridad, junto a mi niña bonita.
Is there nothing else?
Mi sueño de mí es grabar en una disquería, tocar. O sea, que siempre tocar con la guitarra, cantar. Quiero tocar de mí siempre, ¿no? De mi inspiración siempre. Es mi idea, salir adelante. Y lo voy a hacer, pero no me falta mucho tiempo, pero lo voy a hacer.
Yeah, that was a song, that was.
No van a ir arriba de los bloques chiquititos ahí en los cotaítos. No van a ir esta
But
chavala,
how he'd like a bit
los
of
cotos
Coca-Cola with his burrito. His salty fish burrito.
Yo espero a mis hijos que no sean como yo, porque este trabajo es duro. Quiero que tengan otro trabajo ellos, ¿no?
At your command. Make haste, men. Ready for further orders.
Might lose this one, apparently.
Bueno, tatainte mamaquilla, virgen Pachamama, que te ibericheco.
Pachamama.
Pachamama. Ay, cabal, Dios mío, Señor mío, Jesús mío, cabal mío.
Oh, Dios
¿Cuándo se enoja
mío.
la Pachamama? Cuando no le dan ofrenda, pues.
Dios
porque
mío.
está explotando, comiendo así, pero por sí mismo la gente tiene que enfermar o morir. Ahí se enoja, pues. No, el agua es así, aparte es ese. El agua se hace, o sea que hay que pedir la lluvia ya, pues ese. Primero hay que atizar el fueguito y hay que encensar para los milagros. El Dios hay que encenciarse para que dé la buena bendición, para que nos vaya bien, ¿no ve?
Oh, sí, sí, sí.
Hay que colocar agua de varias partes. Con que bendición de población ya, con la caimanta, y después hay que girarle, pues, con su tumita. Girar, entonces hacerlo cruzar así, pues. Una vez ya llega a cruzarse así, empieza a reventar como lobitos, pues, chiquititos. Entonces ya la lluvia ya viene también así, por atrás. Quemando, para y cuánto cosa,
Proud Romans all! By all the gods, I think I'm the luckiest man alive. I have you to command.
Before the rainy season begins, the Chambi family rushes to place all the salt blocks they've collected under cover. A thunderstorm is brewing.
The victory awaits our
Diciembre,
efforts.
enero, febrero, la lluvia. Es más seguro que llueve. Nos afecta en trabajar, en sacar los bloques, en montar la sal. Pero ya sabemos que en esas fechas nos afecta, pero para esas fechas, para vivir, nos acumulamos la sal. Los bloques, nos acumulamos la granulada, sacamos aquí y nos acumulamos para vender.
Y la lluvia nos ha sorprendido. No sabíamos que iba a llover, pero nos ha sorprendido a todos. En tiempo de lluvia, yo he visto ya otra forma de trabajar, de hacer un hospedaje de sal aquí en Colchán.
At the double!
Ah, Ariston.
Yo me siento feliz porque legalmente soy el salario casi último ya, porque mucha gente ya no quiere trabajar la sal. Pero yo me siento feliz, contento más, porque yo tengo 40 años y todavía 20 o 25 años pide. En esos momentos
We have both Argos and Ariston
siempre
as
me voy a quedar aquí
brands
en
here.
Colchane porque es mi pueblo
What
y he
other
nacido
Greek
aquí.
brands did we have? Argos.
Y nosotros vamos a ser ya los últimos, ¿ya? Yo no creo que va a haber otra generación más de lo que me van a hablar. Quiero estar aquí siempre porque estoy acostumbrado aquí y aquí estoy tranquilo, no pienso ir a otro lado porque tengo 4 hijos. Quiero que sean músicos como yo, porque en la música hay plata. Por una noche nos cobras bien, cobras y te pagan la gente.
La luna y la estrella, testigos de nuestro amor. La luna y la estrella, testigos de nuestro amor. Besos en la oscuridad, junto a mi niña bonita. Besos en la oscuridad, junto a mi niña bonita. No quiero perderte, amor. Me diste besos de amor. No quiero perderte, amor. Me diste besos de amor. La luna y la estrella, testigos de nuestro amor. La luna y la estrella, testigos de nuestro amor. Besos en la oscuridad, junto a mi niña bonita. Besos
Taco
en la
i
oscuridad,
burrito.
junto a mi niña
Taco flavored gissies.
Praetorians! Prepare to attack! Form testudo! General!
Our general is under attack.
Wow, that was the Men of Souls. That was a good documentary, I liked it. Short and sweet.
Riders advance! Shock cavalry ready! Riders, at the double! Legionary cavalry! Heavy cavalry ready and willing! Into flying wedge formation! Sons of Mars! Flying wedge formation! Charge! Legionary cavalry! My hands are shaking!
The battle is turning in our favor.
They're coming! We can't fly, boys! We must hold! Legionary cavalry!
This is why it's against me, because they got so much horse archers. That's okay, my cavalry finally got the bastards. Got ya.
At your command! For Rome! Jupiter gives us strength! Legionary cavalry! Forward!
Nice, you shot my legionaries.
guns to a man! Riders, advance! Engage! Melee troops! Jupiter gives us strength. Melee troops awaiting orders!
Form hollow square, please. Quick as you like. Ah, good, I've won. No more having to be subtle and tactics and all that bollocks. Men of Salt, when salt is your whole life. Truly a documentary which many in 2016 should have seen, because salt mining is not without its hazards. You know, it's not easy. They've got lots of money. You can be ransomed.
Commander.
What, you didn't think I was going to stop pursuing you, did you? We're at war, don't you know?
Is that all?
Ah, the first rank.
Ready for battle.
Oh, excuse me. Yep. Some of that would be good. Whew.
Command, on the move. Your next command. Is that all? Let them cower before Rome!
Yep, gonna have to fight this one as well. Save the game. And let's have a look. Let's see, let's find another documentary. What we got? What we got? I want my sex back. Ah, I want your sex. 10 days in North Korea? Oh, that could be interesting. This would be one for Phil. I'll tell you what, let's get the link
Every
up.
day, from Monday to Saturday, more than 24 million people work to maintain the socialist machine of North Korea.
Let's, first of all, just mute myself just for a bit. Just mute myself.
This is the present-day result of a unique political experiment that's been running for almost 70 years. It's all at the expense of an isolated and subjugated people, or as those we spoke to during our visit prefer to say, a people protected from the outside world by the leader. The son of Korea is how the great generals are referred to in children's songs.
Shut up! Adverts!
Kim Jong-un's exact age is a mystery, even to North Koreans. Like his father and grandfather before him, the young general is head of state in a country at war. A country with a growing economy. And a country which, however cautiously, is gradually opening its doors to investors and tourists, but at the same time remains inaccessible and mysterious. Pyongyang, the flatland,
Pyongyang, Ping Pong Ching
is
Chong.
the center of power for the North Korean regime. The capital city and the face of the republic. It's where we spend most of our time in this almost completely unknown and isolated country.
그래도 우리는 이 세계에서 가장 오랜 독재들을 가지고 있다. 근데 자부심을 가지고 사는 나라들이 겁니다. 이 세상이 솔직히 말씀드리면 세상이 얼마나 소란스럽습니까? 타방에서 청포가 석궁 소리 울리고 솔직히 뭐 내 개인적인 의견을 말씀드리면 질서라는 게 없는데 이거는 원수님 두 개 뭉쳐서 온 사회가 하나의 대가정으로 이루어져가지고 이게 안정된 사회생활, 정치, 경제, 문화생활이 안정되겠죠. 여기서 말하자면 쉽게 한마디로 말하면 공화국 국민된 경제가 잡았습니다고 할까.
A few months ago, biology professor Kim Chol-ho was given the keys to his new home. He now lives in one of the most modern buildings in Pyongyang.
살림집에 들어서서 원수님께서 우리에게 교육자들에게 6인용 소파와 TV타, 텔레비타, 그다음에 부엌색 안에 그릇 6인용
Well done, you managed to blow up yet another piece of artillery. Dickhead.
At the entrance is a poster reminding citizens that at any time they should always be ready to show respect to the great leader, Kim Jong-un.
Legionary cavalry! First cohort!
Inside, we're given a warm welcome by the proud owners of the large 240-meter flat, a gift from the Marshal to his indispensable scientists. It's an incentive to work harder and more quickly, says Chol-ho.
Our general is under attack.
말이 뭐 이렇게 아직 풍족하다고 말하기는 아직 힘듭니다. 특히 뭐 소랑에서 우리 조선 사람들을 이렇게 주시해 보면 말인데, 사람이 이렇게 풍족할 때 받아하는 것이라면 뭐 별다른 것이 없겠지만 아직 부족한 것이 많은 속에서 원수님께서 이렇게 우리에게 훌륭한 집을 지어주신 것.
Our men flee the field of battle.
우리 과학자들이 과학으로 방송국가 분실에 이바지해서 세계를 앞서 나가라는 이런 원수님의 이런 사랑이고 믿음이라고 저는 생각합니다.
That piano needs tuning.
Legionary cavalry!
Oh, really needs tuning. Okay, can we just, like, a humanitarian crisis in North Korea? Please can we send piano tuners over there?
Legionary cavalry!
A sickle, a hammer and a brush in the center of Pyongyang symbolize the solidity of the country's only political party to hold power. Almost 90% of all members of parliament belong to the Workers' Party. The remaining seats are taken by representatives of the dependent Social Democratic and Chondoist parties that have no real power. There's also a handful of so-called independent members. The last parliamentary election was held earlier this year. Kim Jong-un was re-elected as a deputy with 100% of the vote from the same assembly that chose him as the country's supreme leader. That was 2 weeks after the death of his father, Kim Jong-il, eternal General Secretary of the Workers' Party.
Yes, Commander! Jupiter gives us strength. General! Rome is mother to us all! Cut them down!
오늘의 위대한 장군님께서는 2006년 12월 3일 맵전 취석에서 눈부라치는 날에 찾아주셨습니다. 그때 우리가 이거 집을 새로 받았을 때입니다. 그래서 집을 새로 받은 지 6개월 만에 위대한 장군님께서 새 집들이를 한 우리들을 보시겠다고 우리 집에 찾아주셨습니다. 그때 그야말로 우리 온 가족은 진짜 천만 뜻밖이고 너무 기쁘기도 하고 또 참 겨울날 장군님을 모신다고 생각하니 또 죄송하기도 하고 그래서 위대한 장군님께서 들어오시면서 하나님 소리를 들으시면서 우리들은
Kim Kyo-son is a farmer just like his father before him. He's worked at the Mikok Collective Farm for 8 years. He joined after leaving the army, where 10 years of service is obligatory for almost all men.
쌀은 거의 사회주의고 우리 강성국가건설이 최전선입니다. 그래서 우리 농업 전사들은 이 본분을 잊지 않고 지금 우리 알고 계획을 그 120%나마 수행했습니다. 그래서 농사일은 진짜 노동이 노래로 되고 기쁨이 되고 있습니다. 보다시피 알겠지만 우리 이런 구글 같은 집에서 일하고 휴식하고 하니까 진짜 촌스럽고 우리 농사일 한다고 했지만은 실질적으로 농사꾼 농사꾼들 같지 않습니다. 소유적으로 미국의 사람들 다 봐도 알겠죠. 그래서 그야말로 너더위 너를 가지고 행복이 되고 있습니다.
Ballista for Rome. Field artillery ready. Yours to command. Army, sons of Mars. At speed. Melee infantry ready. First cohort. Jupiter gives us strength.
Working to uphold the system and achieving goals set by the government is a question of honor. Agricultural workers are constantly reminded of this by propaganda that's widely distributed throughout the collective farms. Loudspeakers broadcasting rousing music and speeches call farmers to their daily work. Students with revolutionary flags and flowers take turns to boost the farmers' morale.
Romans all.
The slogans encourage everyone to be patriots and surpass the entire world. Or at least to follow the great marshal's example and contribute as much effort as he does to ensure that his people thrive.
It's not much to ask.
The battle is turning in our favor.
I thought he was wearing a mask. He's got a funny little voice.
And year. Last month, Oh-Yong Nam broke not a single sheet of plate glass while packing. He considers that an achievement.
경의하는 김정은 원수님께 조금이라도 기쁨을 드렸다는 그 기쁨이 나의 가슴에 자꾸 남이 있다고 생각합니다.
Students pursue the same goals. At least that's what's said in front of a camera. To serve my country, says Ji Chong-hyuk. In this case, he's talking about technological research. He's on his way to study at the country's main library.
Oh, that was a
the
bit
Grand
tricky,
People's
but,
Study Palace.
you know, I was outnumbered 2 to 1. Look at all those kills.
많이 공부하고 앞으로 세계를 압도하기 위해서 공부하고 있습니다.
Even prisoners are bound to contribute to the stability and development of the North Korean system. The exact number of convicts is something else that's kept secret. The punishment for any felony is compulsory labor or, for less serious offenses, community service. That's what we were openly told by Alejandro Caldebelos from Spain. As president of the Korean Friendship Association, he cooperates with the government. He helped sort out all the issues we had to face to enter the country, and he'll accompany us throughout this trip.
Creemos que la persona que es un criminal, que se ha probado su delito y que ha sido juzgado y sentenciado, debe devolver a la sociedad al menos parte de ese daño que ha hecho.
This is a
No
good
creemos
first
que deba
step.
hacerlo drogándose en prisión, como en el caso de España o otros países, o sometido a todo tipo de vida corrupta y con todo tipo de facilidades, como otros sistemas penitenciarios. Creemos que debe trabajar al igual que los propios campesinos, que cosechan el arroz para dar de comer a la población. Así que sí existen trabajos forzados, que no son campos de concentración. No tenemos prisioneros políticos. Ahora, si tenemos un gobierno, tenemos una Asamblea Popular Suprema, que es el Parlamento, que dictamina una ley, esa ley debe ser seguida por los ciudadanos. Por lo tanto, cualquier persona que tenga una idea diferente debe expresarla por los cauces adecuados, no creando, por ejemplo, un conflicto social o destruyendo el mobiliario urbano.
Fields, construction sites and mines are the most common destinations for prisoners sentenced to punitive labor. A foreign ministry official recently confirmed to a handful of journalists that there are indeed special camps for this kind of labor. Some agencies say their purpose is to reform criminals. High treason and subversion carry the death penalty. General Jang Song-tak was executed last year. He was the young marshal's uncle and thought to have been his mentor, the second most important figure in the country.
The signs and portents
A military
suggest
tribunal
Ares
accused him of
stands with us
corruption
against
and
these
plotting
people.
to topple the
When do you want
revolutionary
us to
North
attack?
Korean regime.
Yeah, okay.
Our visit ends in Pyongyang's victorious war museum.
Pyongyang.
Special effects and music portray the exploits of the People's Army in their struggle against their southern neighbor and the United States. The latent conflict lasted more than 60 years, and North Korea commemorates the end of military action with a grand annual parade demonstrating its military prowess. Victory Day, as it's known here, marks the armistice in the Korean War.
Look at their jaunty little march. Aww.
Last year saw the 70th anniversary parade where, as well as missiles, tanks and troops, for the first time ever, Kim Jong-un's used the occasion to demonstrate to the world that North Korea had successfully produced its own drones. There are more than 1 million soldiers in the regular army, not including the highly militarized police. More than 15% of GDP is spent on the military. Mangyongdae Revolutionary School even prepares children. For the regime, the army is a source of inspiration and, above all, order, defining the precise military way in which society is organized. A society on constant full combat alert. This is a country based on military ideology. Absolutely everything is literally imbued with combative spirit.
Way to be,
The
soldier.
metro system, more than 100 meters deep, was constructed in the 1970s with help from the USSR and China. This underground
China.
space would serve as a refuge in the event of a nuclear attack.
China.
A gigantic sculpture graces the southern exit from Pyongyang, where two women symbolized Korean reunification. On official maps, North and South are marked as a single country called the Korean People's Democratic Republic. Just 3 hours' drive along a rundown but wide, spectacularly clean and practically empty road takes you from Pyongyang to the border. This highway, with limited access, could also be used for military maneuvers. From time to time, you encounter army checkpoints where filming is strictly forbidden. Locals wait patiently in line to show their permits to pass through the barrier. Panmunjom village is where Lieutenant Colonel Nam Tong-ho delivers military history
Nam
lectures
Tong-ho.
for visitors. This would seem to be one of the most important tourist attractions in the country. According to the guide, in this very hall and at these very desks on July the 27th, 1953, North Korea and the USA signed the Armistice Agreement without the participation of the South. It was a precarious non-aggression pact that should ultimately have led to a final peace treaty, but never did. There are no South Korean soldiers to be seen along the clearly marked military border today.
Yeah,
it's said that they
that's
keep
very
it under
interesting.
surveillance using binoculars and cameras, while
hang on.
remaining where tourists won't see them. Technically, a state of war still exists between the parties, following the conflict that resulted in millions of...
Pause, right, because we got some interesting reading to do. After Rome threw off the Etruscan kings in 510 BC, to found the Republic. I wondered where it was. Politics was the domain of the aristocratic patrician order, who remained distinct from the main body of free Roman citizens, or plebeians. It wasn't until the conflict of the orders resolved in 287 BC that the plebs and plebs and political representation and, in many other matters, equal standing with the patricians. As an assertion of pride and identity, the Ludi Plebibii, or the plebeian games. Oh, I see, so Ludo means game. Were organised and hosted by the plebeian Ailedes, however it's pronounced. The Office of Public Maintenance. Ailedes is not really something which occurs in everyday conversation. So, unless I was talking to Jacob Rees-Mogg or Boris Johnson, they'd be like, "That's not how you pronounce it." I was like, well, it is how I pronounce it because I'm reading the word and I've never heard it pronounced. The Office of Public Maintenance, Order and Festivals, held annually from November the 13th to the 17th at the Circus Flaminius. The festival involved a great feast on a Jupiter, Optimus Maximus, followed by days of theatrical performances, sporting competitions, and equestrian displays. So, what does this mean? So, there's wealth from culture and 4 to public order. Great. Trespasser. You done did a what? Well, maybe we can forgive you just this once. But never again! And you... Oh, you're good. Well, we shall see. Anyway, let's have a look at the construction. Nothing to build there. Oh, salt mine shaft or salt merchant. 10 salt, 20 salt. Wealth. More wealth, but that increases banditry. So we're gonna have a salt merchant because we got a trading post. So this is a salty marketing town. Diospolis is also a salt. Okay. Anyway, that's all good. So that will give me 6 sanitation. That will give me 6 sanitation. 6 sanitation, public order per turn. So the fountains give me more public order. Right. And, yeah, this is going to be a mint because I don't think I have a mint. Yep, so I'm going to have a mint in Axum. Ah, right. So, let's have a think. Latin rights. What does this give me? 25 spices. So this gives me 2 siege on time, yeah. That gives me 4 growth per turn, research, yeah. That gives me 2 growth per turn. Well, from all sources. -4 public order, -2 public order, that's the best one for public order. So I'll go with that. Food, banditry, port food, eat, blah blah blah. And spice route. So as much as I'd like a training field, we'll go with spice route. Because that's a unique building. The auxiliary barracks, what will they let me do? Well, won't let me show them. Well, it won't show me at the moment. Forum could be Dinius, or the pork one could eat. I'm going to have the public baths here so we can shame those that've got cut cocks. You've cut his cock off. Oh, why would you do such a thing? That's evil. That's evil and you must be evil. I've run out of money. I'm going to have to start killing people again. Hobbit, did you know that karaoke is Japanese for Ting Tong Sing Song? I did not know that karaoke was Japanese for Ting Tong Sing Song. But now you've said it, it makes a lot of sense. That's what they don't teach you in school. The Ting Tong Sing Song. Do you Ting Tong Sing Song? They're still recruiting. Yeah. What about the Alpina? Alpina. Got an idea what I've... I've got a fun idea.
You have further orders? Laying siege to the settlement!
Pyrrhic victory, right? So do that. And then I'm just going to loot.
Ready for further orders. Ready for orders.
Oh, so I've also gained the city. I didn't mean to do that, but
Ready for battle.
never mind. Right, so, cool. You're going to get a pet snake now that you work in, you know, now that you work in Egypt. You're my pet snake.
How can I serve Rome?
Agriculture. You're going to focus on agriculture.
Yes.
Yep. Yep. Yep, that's fine. Legio free, Primogena.
Make haste, men. Your next command. Is that all? You have further orders? Waiting for more orders. Is that all? Victory for Rome!
Oh no, the Parthians are going to be annoyed. Ransom, that makes the most amount of money.
We hunger for battle. I'm afraid we cannot. You have further orders? Advance! Commander? Ready for battle at once. Ready for further orders. We can't pass here. Fall back! We hunger for battle.
Ah, yeah, there's a lot of mercenaries in this one. A lot of crap. So, gonna go back to Flada.
At your command.
Let's see. I'm gonna get rid of all of this. Disband, yeah. So now let's do some recruitment. Indo-Iranian light cavalry. Persian cavalry. Well, they are fast. Indo-Hellenic philospears. Uh-huh. Gundi Ipala. Indo-Hellenic peltasts. I can... That needs proletari, but that needs peregrini. I see. I see. Let's have some archers for a moment. We'll just have archers until we get something better.
At your command. That is impossible. Our advance has been halted. Your next command. Siege to the settlement. None will escape.
Smash! You're my settlement now. So what's the difference? A civil town, public order per turn, growth per turn, free growth per turn, but not as much public order, and a market town is wealth. We probably need a market town actually. Trade port, that'll bring in wealth. Demolish that. Replace that with farm, or no, you get more for herding than you do farming, so right, so we'll do that then.
We hunger for battle. Advance! Waiting for more orders.
Right, that's those dirty rebel slaves dealt with.
Returning to shore. Advance!
Well, that produces wealth. Okay, that's good.
Ready for battle. Ready for orders. Commander, is that all? Waiting for orders.
Legio 4 Rapax are becoming one of my firm favourites. Favourites.
Advance. Let them cower before Rome.
So, gonna have one more documentary. Whilst what we got? Escobar's hitman. I want my sex back. Do 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 do.
10, 9, 8.
So the Lord God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep. And while he was sleeping, he took one of the man's ribs and then closed up the place with flesh.
7, 6, 5, 4.
I was born a male. I started living as a female when I was 19 years old, had a sex change when I was 30 years old. I've now been living as a woman for 28 years, and I fully regret this.
You'll never be a woman.
Can change genders. It's impossible. It's delusional. It's a mental illness.
Then the Lord God made a woman from the rib he had taken out of the man, and he brought her to the man.
Once I finally had the surgery, I went, oh, this was the wrong thing to do. It was the wrong thing to do to cut off my male anatomy.
I'm castrated and now I regret it.
This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man. That is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh.
The fact of the matter is that 40% of people who are attempting suicide are people who regret ever changing genders.
Lift off, Falcon 9.
Melee infantry at your command.
I set my alarm for right there around 4 o'clock to get up. But usually I wake up beforehand. It's as though God just wakes me up. I read the Bible, and then I pray, and then I try to be still and listen for His voice, His guidance.
So this is Bactria.
Hi, my name is Billy Burley. I'm living here in Lompoc in this house, and I used to work for NASA. Y'all come on in, and let me show y'all around the house a little bit.
He's got autism.
So the weather over here in Lompoc is exceptional. We don't have air conditioning over here, and so we keep the doors and windows open for a good bit throughout the year. I was a skinny, little, introverted kid. Had a speech impediment and tried to talk, but a lot of people didn't understand me. My body told me that I belonged with the boys.
The enemy's tower has been
My
destroyed.
mind was saying that I belonged with the girls. And I didn't know which way to go. I wanted to be like my sisters. I should be like my sisters. And when my older sister started wearing makeup, I started playing with some of her makeup in the bathroom. And then in the 6th grade, when I was on the summer league football team, and we had a new diving coach. Well, what he would do
when it comes to delusions, it seems NASA are the experts, international experts in it.
And try to get me to have an erection and just continue to play with me. Carmelli, I'm gonna have to shut you into a room. Can we pause for just a moment?
Yeah, sure.
Come on, Carmel. Let's get you into a room back here. You are gonna keep moving around. Come on.
Quiet, bad dog, bad dog. Hold one moment. I will try to silence them. Dottie, Dottie, go lay down. Go lay down.
The walls
First
are
off,
breached.
my name is Renee Jacks, and I'm an author. I've written 8 books so far, 3 of them to do with transsexuality. I was born male, grew up in a very conservative Republican family. My father was pretty much absent most of my childhood. He was an alcoholic. My mother was mentally ill. The childhood was
so
so
a mother has
troubled and so
BPD,
traumatic
father's
that
absent,
in retrospect, I was able to look at it
and you turned into a faggot.
realized that there was no
It's
way
amazing.
I was getting out of childhood.
Nobody could have seen this
You go and
coming.
you take a shower, and you're there to get clean. But every time I had to take off my clothes, every time I went to bathe, you know, there's no getting around the fact that I wasn't a girl, that I was a boy. And that really is the one memory that sticks out, is just how much I hate my penis, hated my penis. By the time I left high school, when I was 18, I was cross-dressing most of the time once I was away from school. And a couple years afterwards, I ended up in San Francisco, which had a very small gay community. And I had made the decision by the time I was about 20 to start living full-time as a girl. When you start dating people, and if you pass well enough, the whole purpose is, are you a transsexual or are you a woman? And in my mind, I was always a woman. I'm wanting to date, and I'm not telling the men that I'm dating that I have a penis. And so when they find out, they become violent. There were a couple instances where I was beaten very badly.
Maybe don't lie to people about something so fundamental. Maybe not everybody wants to be, like, you know, playing make-believe.
Our center is very well known, especially for transgender surgery, and we perform all types of transgender surgery, male to female,
Please censor the disgusting gore, please. I don't want to see people being cut open.
Very actual now, reversal surgery in regretful after another one way in transgender transformation. We try always to make a genitalia to be first very functional and then to be more acceptable in aesthetical view. If you discuss about male to female, our results are much better. Why? Because in one surgery we create a completely normal female genitalia, and these persons usually can have a sexual intercourse, can enjoy sexual work.
Yeah, just
and then you think, well,
skip
if
ahead
I can
for
only get my voice, get my male voice up here, then that'll make me, you know, just happy. And then you think the next thing is, well, if I can get breast implants, that's all I need. It's never enough. And finally, if you've gone through the therapy and you can convince a doctor to start cutting on you, you go and you have a sex change. I had my sex change in 1990. And in the back of my mind, I thought it might be like all the other stuff I had done, but I was hoping, just hoping that that would make me feel complete.
The walls are breached.
I don't want to get in there. So why would you tell your neighbor that you did something that was so stupid? It's absolutely ridiculous to tell a neighbor, hey, I was a transgender and I've detransitioned. Pretty embarrassing to go through a gender change, to be that stupid, to believe that you can actually change genders. You got to be pretty ill-equipped to handle the truth.
Why are you marching forward, you dickheads?
Family, good people.
Everyone else can like
Taken
hit
to my
from this
grandmother's house
angle.
quite frequently, as my
And from
parents
this range.
like to go away on the weekend. They like to camp and fish. I somehow became interested at my grandma's house in cross-dressing, and I mentioned something to her about that. So she decided to make me a purple dress and allow me to put it on and wear the dress. I finally got so interested and excited about wearing the dress that I got tired of waiting till I was going to go to Grandma's house to secretly cross-dress. So I snuck the dress home. Well, my mom found the dress. And so then Dad got upset. I was never allowed to go to Grandma's house again.
Yeah, because she was abusing you.
The first step was I changed my name secretly when I was about 13 years old to Crystal. Probably in my late 20s, I started to
Like all
talk to
good strippers.
doctors about hormone therapy, and I began to take hormone therapy. 35 years ago, there wasn't much information, and we concluded that based on everything that was available at the time, that undergoing hormone therapy, further hormone therapy, and gender reassignment surgery would be the answer to resolve this, quote, gender identity disorder. That's when in April of 1983, I underwent the gender reassignment surgery by Dr. Biber in Trinidad, Colorado.
Dr.
It was
Biber?
amazing. I felt like the world had been lifted from my shoulders, and it was all really wonderful. The only thing I don't know is, was it all the medication from 5 hours of surgery that made me feel this way, or was it because I'd gone through the surgery? Because you're pretty heavily medicated. My female name at the time was Laura Jensen.
Lompoc is a nice town. It's quiet and it's small. I was a little bit apprehensive going into surgery, but also a little excited too. Finally, we're at this point. And after going into surgery and then coming out of surgery and being in the elevator, I asked somebody, is it gone? And they assured me that it was gone. And I was very relieved. I was losing a lot of blood through the surgical site. What they did was kept
What, from your
gauze,
gaping wound?
Into my new vagina. But I was excited. I was excited that finally this is done. This is now behind me. So now I'm starting my new life.
I never had the full ability to have intercourse because the vagina that they make is so small. So anytime I tried to have intercourse, it was extremely painful and it wouldn't happen. So these surgeries are nothing more than plastic surgery. They don't create, the phalluses that they create for female to males are really hideous looking. I've had several female to male friends, and you look at it and you just go, oh God, you paid for that. It's horrible. The sex change didn't solve my discomfort. The doctors who are honest will say that the gender dysphoria is always there. And it's because the confusion is, it's not so much, it starts out being about your anatomy, but really what it's, you don't like yourself. Being a freak in society, being, I call it in my book, a social pariah, is not the way you want to live. The isolation drives you to despair. And so, yeah, suicide is a big, big thing.
Maybe you can remember exact day when you thought about committed suicide, and how did you stop yourself?
Yesterday, I don't know. The first time was right before the surgery in 1990. And the only thing that kept me from doing it, quite honest, is I'm a coward at heart.
Just was so deeply disturbed. At the time, I wanted to end my life, and somebody I knew had some cocaine, so I attempted to use it to kill myself. And it obviously didn't work, but my heart was pounding so hard after I took it that I thought it was going to come out of my chest.
Well, not to worry, you'll be dead by 60. So you'll get your wish, it'll just be delayed.
Safer having done that and not staying in one place very long where people might find out what I do and who I am. I don't want people to know that are around me. I don't want to be outed by the people around me. I was leaving church one day on Sunday 3-4 years ago now, and I got an email that said, "I'm ready to commit suicide. Can you help me?" And it was a transgender who had lived the transgender life for 2 or 3 years and was totally discouraged with it. I was actually exchanging information and talking with him on some level up to 5 times a day to keep him from committing suicide. He eventually restored his life. He detransitioned back. This is my entire office right here. My computer, my desk, my chair, my slippers, and this is where I sit and work. I don't need any more than this. Everything that I do is right here on the computer or on the phone talking to people. I've detransitioned now for 25 years, a little longer. And so it was when I detransitioned that everything began to make sense to me. And when I realized that how important it was to detransition to become psychologically, emotionally, and socially a healthy person, that I wanted others who wanted to detransition to have a way to come back to that same experience that I have. And if they have regret and want to detransition, I've built a website for them. It's exchangeregret.com. How are you?
Doing good today. Doing good. How about you and KC?
Yeah, we're doing good. Billy contacted me by email like most people do, and we began to exchange information, and I talked to him on the phone. His story was just like mine. He was sexually abused. I was sexually abused, and that was kind of the trigger point of changing genders.
Come on, kids. Come on, come get your clothes on. Come on. Come on, buddy.
Come on! And the double! Sons of Mars!
7 years after transitioning to a woman, I started thinking, okay, I've been doing this for 7 years now. My problems should have gone away by now, but they hadn't. And I actually had more problems at that point. Another problem is just trying to pass. I'm trying to do my hair just right, trying to do my makeup just right, trying to look just right to where people would not be uncomfortable, because you can see when people identify you as being transgender. I was like, this isn't life. Nothing has really changed. I'm still struggling. I was better off as I was before the surgery, before the hormone treatment. So it was at that point, 5 years after the surgery, thereabouts, that I started to have thoughts about changing back. That's my student ID from LSU. That's when I was swimming at LSU. I had a really big Adam's apple, heavy brow ridge, pretty big jaw. This is the ID after I had SRS surgery. And then when I was transitioning back
Bactria
to Yale,
is mine.
in Louisiana, that's the driver's license I got. I had a lot of other pictures from that period, but one day when I was sitting in my office looking at the pictures of me back during this 7-year period, 8 years as being female, it was so discouraging that I wasted so much of my life in this particular period doing all of this, that just in the state that I was in, I erased all of the pictures that I had off of the computer and destroyed the pictures of me from that period to try to erase that period in my life. With God's help, I went through the change and I went back to being male. So I went through that surgery, and on the back side of it, I was in so much pain and so much discomfort.
Well, now that Bactria is mine, I feel I'm just going to rest it for the moment. I will process the turn, because of course that's always fun.
When he took the bandages off of my stomach to show me the skin graft, I was almost horrified at it. To me, it was gross. But it was by that surgery and the paperwork that the surgeon gave me saying, when I had the surgery done initially, he gave me the paperwork that said, okay, I've been surgically changed to male.
I'm 60 years old. There's no reason for me, after a lifetime of being in transition, to go and start living, dressing as a man anymore. There's no...
yes, there is.
There's no benefit in it.
Yes, there
is.
is
a benefit in
you can tell the truth for once.
Before an audience of young kids in college who are considering this path and saying to them, okay, I'm the real deal. I started living as a woman when I was 20. I've lived 40 years of my life. I've had breast augmentation. I've had genital surgery. I've had 40 years of hormones. All of it
castration.
Has not made my life any better. It's never solved the problem. You break your left leg. You go into a doctor's office, and under the transsexual rule of medical treatment, they say, this is your new normal, and we're going to break your right leg too.
I think it's safe to say that when somebody has been cross-dressed and affirmed physically abused and sexually abused, that psychotherapy is the most needed therapy, not hormones and surgery.
When I met Rachel, I was already legally a man again.
A eunuch?
Hey, baby doll. How was your day? Her and her daughter came over to my house.
Oh good, dirty Parthians wish to become part of Rome. I will civilize them.
When I first met her. And that was in 2010. And from there, I invited her for a coffee.
And I didn't know what that meant. So I asked one of my classmates, what does that mean?
Your name's Rachel Berger.
So she said, well,
my name's Rachel Berger. Burger, 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 dollar.
And at that time, she said, okay, let's be friends.
We shared the same interests, like what I was saying. We both like doing, especially swimming, but triathlons, we liked hiking. I don't know, I know he will say he remembers one time we went on a hike and we sat down for a rest and on a bench, and I kind of sat close to him and put my head on his shoulder.
And it was at that point I knew our relationship was changing.
Well,
and,
I would like,
okay
I'd like to take a break, but I process the turn, so I'll do this first.
And I did.
Excellent. You're good.
The intimacy between Rachel and me, with me being surgically
Rachel and
altered,
Rachel Berger. Her name's Berger. She likes burgers.
So Rachel and I, we enjoy intimacy.
Oh, you got it right then.
Wonderful fresh air.
Fresh air is good. It is beautiful, and
Not as good as having my testicles intact, but I guess I don't get that anymore.
If you notice up here, the green is starting to turn back to brown.
He asked me pretty soon, after a few months, if I'd marry him. And I think I thought about it for not too long, maybe a week or two, and responded
marriage.
Yes. My older daughter said it's probably
Hey,
best.
let's pretend at marriage.
They wanted me to be happy.
Field artillery ready.
You're not a family. You're just cohabiting. Oh, let's have a formal declaration of our cohabitation
And I knew I was
status.
going to change back, but the big moment came when I was praying, and the Lord...
As far as I'm concerned, you get married because you find a woman, it's like, yep, I'm going to start a family with you, so we got to get married.
I could touch anybody here. And he came and reached down to me with his hands and picked me up and said, "You're now safe with me forever." And it was at that moment that my life changed in a split second. Look at this, I'm healthy. Many of the people who've gone through this before me are dead. They're alcoholics, they're still struggling with their identity, and I'm alive and well and healthy and married for 21 years to my wife. That's redemption, restoration, and I'm helping other
You'll never be a
people. What
woman,
other
and now you'll never be a
thing
man.
that's better in life when you're reaching
Yeah,
out
I
and
really
helping
do
other
feel
people
sorry
with
for
their
these
life.
people, but at the same time, like, I have a hard time dealing with lies.
To you, babe. I love you.
Just really struggle. Like, stop lying. Just stop it.
Did you taste it? It is.
Field artillery
But it's still pretty. But it's still pretty tasty. I am so happy I am the way I am now. Even though I have problems, I have a choice to let my problems burden me, or to look up, to see each day as a beautiful day, and just to enjoy life. In his hands, he's got you and me, baby. In his hands, he's got you and me, baby. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands.
I mean, it's nice he's found a coping mechanism. So I'm not going to be, you know, a nasty bitch about that. But Hobbit was mean to trannies. He was unsympathetic to the struggles they have.
We have discovered the enemy's hidden units.
Right. That's their ladders dealt with. So now we just got to wait for them to come to the gates and figure out that actually they can't win. So just fast forward things a bit. Just a nice peaceful evening in ancient Spain. The locals don't like the Roman rule, and that's why they're trying to set fire to my bronze door, which is very silly. Right, that door's on fire now.
By your command. Melee infantry ready. Double time! Italian swordsmen! At the double! Ready and waiting.
So we're just going to bring them down, but I'll leave these ones up here so they can continue to throw the javelins down at them. Does she know Richard Spencer by any chance? Very good question. Miss Rachel Swiss Cheeseburger. Melted Swiss cheese. That is some hot stuff.
Our gates are utterly destroyed.
Right, come on then. Come into the killing zone. Yep, go for a shower of boiling oil. Hot sand.
We have discovered the enemy's hidden units.
Italian swordsman! Quick ready! Advance at speed! Melee infantry! Double time! Italian swordsman! Quick march!
No Italian town guard in this one. Just swordsmen and horsemen.
Our general is under attack.
Brave Romans to a man. Orders understood.
The battle is turning in our favor.
General! Italian cavalry! Orders? Riders, advance! General! In the name of Rome! Riders at the double! Italian cavalry! Ready to ride! On your feet! By your command! March at speed! Which one of you peasants did that? Men of Italia!
For some reason I felt if I dismounted them, they won't disrupt the swordsman as much. There we go. Yeah, the horns and the clash of war. It's not as pronounced if you fast forward it. And I was getting a bit bored of the fight. So anyway, there's another slave rebellion crushed. Bloody slaves. We're gonna have to do something about these slaves. Kill them, they're slaves, good for nothing. Yeah, auto-resolve. No idea what those guys were doing.
I will speak the hardest word for a warrior. Peace. It is an honorable offer, made to an honorable foe. You have proven a worthy negotiator.
For some reason, agreeing to a peace treaty has made me untrustworthy. Oh. I regret doing that now. I wonder why that was. Igor. Come on. Do the turn. Do it. 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 Process turn. A child has died? Oh. That sucks. Defenders of the Karen. I've got to defeat the defenders of the Karen. Well, that's a fight for next time, isn't it? I'll do that then. I'll defeat the defenders of the Karen. But that's next time. So let's just go through this stuff first. Yep, that's going to result in a lot of stuff. Now, what do I want? Sanitation, public order, sanitation, Latin cultural influence. Sanitation, public order. So that results in more Sacred Grove then. No. The defenders of the Karen are a enemy army of Parthia, and the Senate has issued me a mission to destroy the defenders of the Karen. The forum Kubindindindindis, which will result in wealth and such. Very good. But that's it. I don't have any more money to do the things I want. Oh, I can do Dacian immigrants. That's something I can do at least. Nope, can't do any of that. Can't do anything there. Just don't have the funds. Well, it's unpopular, but let's increase tax to slightly less than minimal. And let's also make sure I'm trading. So if I go here, they're unfriendly towards me. They're not going to trade. These guys are friendly.
Greetings, friend. Let us use our time together in wisdom. I came...
No, I'm friendly.
Come, my friend. Speak. We have good reason to accept...
Not my friends. Not friends. Not friends. Not friends. Not friends. Not friends. Neutral?
Welcome. I throw open the doors to you and bid you enjoy our talks. You would not sell much in our marketplaces. Our people are rather sophisticated and clever, you know.
I see.
The guards will have me listen to you, but do... You bless our meeting with these terms. I will show we...
Come, my friend. Speak. We are men of words. Truly, my good and noble...
I should have been doing this much sooner, but... Good, so now, if I look at my finances... Income next term, 33,000, which is going to be pretty good. Slave population does a fair bit. So, as does trade. Yep. So yeah, it's pretty good. Okay. That's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Save the game. Strange Roman Empire, isn't it? Oh, sorry, still a republic. But that's it. You can all go away now.